Mitch here, back live for another day of analysis, another day of news, another day of NFL free agency. I'm here to break down all the moves from today. I was traveling today, so I wasn't able to put out the normal videos that I put out throughout the course of the day. So I have everything here at the end to get all the trades, all the signings, some of the releases, some of the re-signings, any questions you guys have regarding NFL free agency. Of course, leave them in the comments. And we're going to get to as much as I can here. And then what I'm ultimately going to do is going to release the videos separately. So I want to bring this to your attention because you probably didn't get the notifications from YouTube. I just released 20 videos that I've made over the course of the last couple of days. So make sure that after this video, tomorrow, whenever it may be, go check out that NFL free agency reactions playlist. Every single reaction I've made regarding to the NFL free agency. So whether it be a signing, a trade, if I've talked about it live, or if it's been a notable name in free agency, it's more than likely that I've covered it. So make sure you go there to that playlist and check that playlist out because I just released 20 videos. I will leave the playlist in the description after I go live. It's not in the description there right now, but it is on the channel. So if you just go to playlists on the channel, you'll be able to find it. But I will leave the link in the description once I'm done here live tonight. But this is specific to some of the signings that happened last night that I wasn't able to cover, and then all of the signings today and all of the trades today. So before I do get into every move in free agency, make sure that you do spike the like button, show your support for the channel. Of course, subscribe to the Bottom Line View if you haven't already for NFL live free agency reactions just like this. And comment below your opinion. Let me know what you think of your team's new moves today, what you think about the entire team going forward, what you think they need to do. Maybe they have some holes still left on their roster. Maybe you're a little antsy because your team's not doing anything. Let me know in the comment section below. And I thank you guys for being here. It's late on the East Coast, so thanks for joining me live tonight. Let's start off. I have as many of the reactions or as many of the signings that I could possibly get here on my notes. So if I missed one, let me know in the comments as I'm going through the list. So let's start off with one that happened yesterday, and that was Carl Nassib signing with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Vegas Raiders have made some big-time moves on their front seven. They've made some moves to really upgrade their linebacker position. Corey Littleton, Nick Kwiatkowski, both going to be awesome for the middle of their defense. Both great in coverage, both great athletes, and both very smart players. Massive upgrade at linebacker for the Raiders. But Carl Nassib adds a little bit of a different type of player up front, and that is a pass rusher. Nassib has had 12.5 sacks over the past 2 seasons with the Tampa Bay Bucks. You may know him from his days on Hard Knocks with the Cleveland Browns. Nassib is a good player, and the thing I like about him is he's a little bit underrated in terms of an athlete. He's huge. He's like 6'7", around 265, 270, somewhere around there. And he's played in multiple schemes. So he's played in like a 4-3 front. He's played in a 3-4 front. He's played outside linebacker. He's played D-end. So he has experience in both schemes. For the Raiders, he's probably going to be more of a down lineman as opposed to a normal linebacker. That's what I would have to guess. Defensive end for the Raiders. And I think he's going to have an instant impact. I wouldn't even be surprised if he was their regular starter. If he was actually the one playing regular snaps ahead of some of the younger players here on the depth chart. But I think this is what the Raiders needed. They needed another player at the edge. They've put a lot of resources into this position. Not all of them have worked out so far, but they do have a very young position. Adding a guy that's a little bit older, not too old. I think he's 27. He's going on to be his 27, 28 years old. He's going to be a really good player for you. And the contract was not bad at all. I actually really like the contract. I like Nassib coming in. He was one of my underrated defensive players, specifically at defensive end. And the Raiders continue to make good moves on defense to upgrade that defense, a unit that hasn't been very good for more than a few seasons now. And they've desperately needed pass rushers ever since getting rid of Khalil Mack. They addressed it in last year's draft. Really, Crosby came out and he was shining last season. And they're hopeful that Carl Nassib can be another addition in that rotation for the Raiders getting after the quarterback. I think he's going to be actually a surprise and one of the best underrated signings of this free agency period. So Carl Nassib goes to the Raiders. Raiders fans, let me know what you think about this signing. I love it. If you can't tell, let me know what you think about Carl Nassib going to the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, so there's the first signing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, live or after the fact, what you think of Carl Nassib going to the Raiders. Now, let's switch to the New England Patriots, who, of course, have gone through some interesting moments over the last couple of days. They're going through and processing Tom Brady no longer being the quarterback in New England, no longer being the legend in New England, and moving on to Tampa Bay. So what do? Well, they go out there and they sign a wide receiver. No, not a big name. They sign Damiere Byrd from the Arizona Cardinals. And they also signed today Bo Allen, defensive tackle from the Tampa Bay Bucks. So they said, hey, Bucks, you want to steal Brady? We're going to steal Bo Allen, because that's obviously a fair trade-off. But looking at these two signings, I don't mind both of them. I feel like Damiere Byrd is kind of like a Philip Dorsett-esque type of receiver. If you've ever seen him play for the Cardinals, he has great speed. He's not tall. I think he's like 5'8", 5'9", something like that. He's looked pretty good last year. I thought he had some moments where he's shown that he can play on the outside. He can play a little bit in the slot. What I do like most about this move for New England is that they're adding a little bit of speed to their wide receiver group, a group that doesn't have a lot of speed when you're talking about Edelman, N'Keal Harry, Mohamed Sanu. Just in general, they lack to gain separation versus corners. And if Philip Dorsett does leave, which it appears that's going to happen, Byrd would basically be like a one-for-one switch with Philip Dorsett. So you're looking at a guy that's going to be a very nice complementary, like number 4, number 3 maybe, even receiver within this offense for the Patriots. And a guy that can stretch the field, go deep, whether that's down the seam or on the sidelines. He showed that he has good releases down the field. And I do feel like he may not be as consistent with his hands as Philip Dorsett has been or for the Patriots, where he's been awesome in that regard. But I do feel like he might add a little bit more in terms of separating from defenders and actually knowing how to utilize that speed at the NFL level, where I feel like Dorsett's very fast. He actually doesn't use it the same way Byrd does. Bird's also been a returner throughout the course of his career at times, so that's another added element to a Belichick team. Now, the other signing was Bo Allen, defensive tackle from Tampa Bay. He is basically a switch or a replacement for Danny Shelton. Danny Shelton is their big nose tackle from the last couple of seasons in New England. He went on to sign with the Lions, which I'll get to, by the way. But Bo Allen, he's basically a veteran run stuffer. You know, you're not going to get anything sexy here in terms of a guy that's going to pass rush. I don't think he has the potential that Danny Shelton has. I don't think he has the next gear, where Danny Shelton sometimes in New England would make some spectacular, like, plays behind the line of scrimmage where you're like, whoa, that was just a feat of athleticism. I don't think Bo Allen really has that gear to him in terms of pure athleticism that Danny Shelton has, but he's just a very solid player in the middle of your defense, good versus the run, and he'll probably just be in the rotation on the D-line in those moments where they need to stop the run, in those moments on early downs next to Lawrence Guy to get maybe a little bit of interior push. That is the type of player Bo Allen is. He's also not too old right now in his career, and I do feel like this is a value signing. This is a classic Patriot signing. You're not getting a player that's going to be a household name. You're not getting a player that's going to be probably a 3-down player for you, but you are getting a guy that's great in certain situations, and that will fit this defense perfectly at nose tackle. So there you go. Bo Allen and Damiere Byrd to the New England Patriots, their first 2 signings of the 2020 offseason. We'll see if they can continue to add to this team, and really, I have no idea what's going to happen post Tom Brady. So we have Bo Allen and Byrd to the Patriots. All right, let's get to the chat real quick, and then I will get to the Seahawks and some of their additions on the offensive line, and we'll continue to move along. The Seahawks made a ton of moves. Like, I need to actually look at Twitter to figure out how many moves they made, but it seemed like they made at least 2-3 offensive lineman signings, so I'm going to have to check that out, guys. All right, let's check out the chat. If you guys haven't already, Gronk spiked the like button, and if you're just tuning in live or watching this on the tape, subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL. Okay, let's check out the chat. What are they saying? 60 people in here, nice. What's going on, guys? Ultra's in the chat. Havana's in the chat. Big Blue is in the chat. He says it was an exciting FA period. Matthew says, let's go. Packers says, bazinga. Chris says, sup. Sports Today says, hello, what's going on? Matthew says, how do you feel about Nick Foles to the Bears? I'll get to that. Chris says, Detroit getting solid on the down low. That's for sure. Thoughts on the Giants? Did the Giants do anything today? I did release some videos on the Giants, so make sure you go check those out, but you'll get my thoughts there. So far, it's been okay. I wouldn't say it's been stellar, but they've made some moves to upgrade their defense, so that's nice to see. Yeah, I'm basically open for team suggestions this season. No, I'm just kidding. But, I'm pretty much, I feel like this season will be the first season where I openly cheer for more than one team. Like, that's a given. That's definitely going to happen, especially the way that the Patriots are looking like they're going to be this year, where I don't know if they're going to be very good. My hope is they're at least average. My hope is that they're good, but that would have to probably be bringing in a quarterback and doing some things in free agency for that to happen, and it just hasn't happened yet. So I have to wait and see what happens with that. Ben is in the chat. He says, Lions signings. Matthews, everybody, Lions fans. I love the Lions fans. I appreciate the love from Detroit, guys. Appreciate it. I like the Lions. They're one of my teams this year. Alex says, Nick Foles worked with Nagy in Kansas City. Hot Take says, Milani on the grind. Love the setup, bro. Hope the flight went well. It was solid. You know what happened on the flight? So I was supposed to be beside a baby, and I was supposed to be beside a family, and then what ended up happening is they switched their seats, so they moved the family and the baby, thank God, and I got an entire row left to myself. I feel like they might have been Detroit Lions fans, and I don't know. I feel like I'm over in the Detroit Lion community, so I appreciate that. Big Blue says, love Carl Nassib to the Raiders. I wanted him to go to New York, actually, honestly, there, Big Blue. Max says, thoughts on Michael Pierce. I will get to that as well. I do need to check out the Seahawks. So let's check out the Seahawks real quick because I don't want to miss anything. And if any Seahawks fans, I know John's in here, but if any Seahawks fans are in here, let me know exactly what they did. I know that they signed Finney last night. I know that they signed Bruce Irvin, and I know that they signed Brandon Shell. I feel like there was one more. Cedric Ogbuehi. I think they signed him too. Let me see. Those are the ones that I know for sure. So, let me see. Yeah, Cedric Ogbuehi, former first-round pick. Okay. Perfect. I've never heard of this guy, by the way. Jordan Schultz. Who is that? He's been breaking some news recently. Give him a follow on Twitter, I guess, because he's been breaking some news. free plug for him. Where's the Seahawks? Okay. Ogbuehi. We have George Fant went to the Jets. Brandon Shell, BJ Finney, and Bruce Irvin. Okay. Some of these I don't know the contracts, guys. So if you really want to know the contract details, I'll let you know. And if I know off the top of my head, I'll let you know. So let's get into the Seahawks. Let's start with BJ Finney. I just want to pull up. Okay. What's next on my list? I think next I have the Chargers. Chargers making moves out there. Okay. BJ Finney. He is a 91. He's 28. Okay. All right. The Seattle Seahawks made a whole bunch of moves today in free agency, a number of them coming on the offensive line, and also one big one reunion on the defensive line. The Seattle Seahawks, they signed a center/interior versatile player in BJ Finney. They signed 2 tackles, Ogbuehi and Brandon Shell, and they also brought back Bruce Irvin, one of the Legion of Boom members. Seahawks are making moves. They're finally making some moves. We didn't see them really do anything dramatic at all in the first couple of days of free agency, but this third day of free agency, they've kind of got some value signings on that offensive line, and what it really looks like is they're targeting the depth of the offense and defensive lines. We'll have to see what they do with Jadeveon Clowney. The report is right now that it's $20 million per year that he's looking for, but Clowney is still out there, and I'm sure that the Seahawks are still in conversations with him. When it comes to the offensive linemen, let's start with BJ Finney. Finney is 28 years old. He is going on 29 years old, but this was actually a really underrated move. He was one of the underrated guys that I liked coming into the offseason. He's on the offensive line, at least. There weren't a lot of big names on the offensive line that were open or available, but this is a guy that started at least a couple of games every year. And when you look at the Steelers, what they do produce is great offensive linemen, and they also typically have really good depth. So this is the case with Finney, where he's played sometimes center in replacing for Pouncey. He's played sometimes guard, replacing DeCastro or Foster whenever they go down. He doesn't play tackle at all, but he does play basically every spot on the interior offensive line, mostly right guard and center. Last year, he played basically only center, and he started 4 games, which was tied for the most he started in a season. So Finney is just a nice, reliable, at the very least, backup center/guard that you can have on your team, that whenever a guy goes down, he'll fill in. But he could also start for you if, the player's not playing up to the standards that you like for one of your starters at center or guard. Finney would be able to replace them and push them out of the job. So I like this move. It's a small move, but it definitely probably is worth it, because when you're talking about the Seahawks, you're talking about a team that's struggled on the offensive line for seasons. Now, last year, they were a little bit better. I'll give them credit. And I also like this move because Finney, being from the Steelers, primarily being a very strong, powerful, run-blocking offensive line, I think suits what the Seahawks like to do offensively as well. So there's that move. The next one was Cedric Ogbuehi, tackle from the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this is a case that's classic around the NFL. You basically give a very small amount of money, small amount of term, and you give it to a player that used to be very highly regarded coming out of the draft, which was the case for Ogbuehi. He was a former first-round pick. And basically, he hasn't worked out for the Bengals. So he was released, he was let go, and a team is going to take a chance on him. This happens a lot with teams like the Seahawks, like the Ravens, Eagles, Patriots. These teams that really know what they're doing seem to take more chances on these type of players, where it's like, okay, maybe he didn't fit your scheme, but there was a reason he was drafted in the first round. He had some sort of talent, and we think we can get it out of him. So that's basically the case for Seattle. Low risk, high reward move for Ogbuehi. The other one was Brandon Shell, which was a little bit more of a cost. You had to spend a little bit more money on him. And Shell started for the Jets last year at tackle. I believe he started at right tackle, but I could be wrong there. But Brandon Shell is going to basically replace what you had in George Fant. And George Fant was your swing tackle. So swing tackle would be a left tackle or a right tackle, a guy that can play left or right. And that's the case for Brandon Shell. He's not going to be like a stellar tackle for you, but what he can do is he can come in maybe if you need an extra blocker on the goal line, or if you need an extra blocker on 3rd and short to get that extra yard, to play tight end maybe. But he can also play left tackle or right tackle if one of your guys goes down. So say Dwayne Brown goes down for an extended period of time, then Brandon Shell can fill in there. A solid signing, a guy that can be that swing tackle and replace what you had in Fant. Fant cost a little bit too much money, and basically what the Jets and Seahawks did there was swap tackles. So there you go. Those are the 3 offensive lineman signings. I like all of them to a certain degree. We'll have to see. The one that's I'm paying attention to the most is Shell, to see how much playing time he gets. But the others, low risk, high reward, or good depth signings. Now, Bruce Irvin is the big one here. Bruce Irvin had a great season last year for the Carolina Panthers, playing more as an outside linebacker type. But of course, Bruce Irvin is going to be an instant fit for this defense because, he played for this defense before. He knows what it's like to play for them, and they know what his skills are. They know what his strengths are. They know what his weaknesses are. And at this point in his career, Bruce Irvin is still a very good player. He can still ball. He can still get after the quarterback, and that's his main responsibility. Being in Carolina, Atlanta, Oakland, wherever he's gone, he's been able to get after the quarterback and put up sack numbers. And if you do lose Clowney, you do need some sort of guy there. And if you have Clowney, that's another edge rusher that you didn't have last year. Irvin would be better than the second best rusher you had last year. Whether that was Ansah or one of the rookies or Green or whoever it was, he's better than all of those guys. So Irvin, I like a lot. I was seeing where he was going to go. I thought he would go the West Coast, whether that was one of the Chargers, the Rams, possibly the Seahawks, and he did. The Seahawks. He's back home with Seattle. I hope you guys are happy. It looks like he's excited. I know he tweeted out 12s, I'm back. I love you guys. So obviously Bruce Irvin's excited. I hope you're excited. Good player, still can play, still has speed, still can get after the quarterback, and is going to add, again, to that rotation up front to the defensive line. And remember, with the Seahawks, when they won their Super Bowls, when they went to the Super Bowls, they were all about building that depth on the defensive line. So this is a step in the right direction for the Seattle Seahawks. And those were the 4 moves the Seahawks made today. Some small ones, but definitely some value there for Seattle. All right. Those are the Seattle moves. Back to the chat for a sec here. Guys, if you haven't already, Gronk, spike it. Ben Diesel is in the chat. Ultra says Seattle has made some under-the-radar signings that will ultimately prove to be successful. Kevin Durkant says Seattle is a Super Bowl contender. Oh, and now you're on the Seattle train, eh? Daquan, I actually just put the Beasley video up within the last hour, so go check that out if you want. It's in the NFL Reactions playlist. Hot Take says anything that can get Ifedi off the line, sign me up. Clowney will join Jefferson at Buffalo for a 1-year deal. Ooh. What do I think of the Browns' 2 new picks? Who did the Browns get? They got Carl Joseph. Who was the other one? Can you please remind me? Slay's going to be traded, I think, within the next couple of days. For sure. Zona will torch the Seahawks secondary, says Coach. Miami Patriots, says Michael. We'll get to the Miami Patriots as well as the Detroit Patriots in just a little bit. Okay, next, the Buffalo Bills. I have here Vernon Butler and Quinton Jefferson. Those are the two signings they made last night, right? Did they make any today? I don't think so, but I'm going to double check. Or if you guys are in the chat, Bills fans, let me know if I missed any. A'Shawn Robinson. Rams signed A'Shawn Robinson. Okay, we'll get to that later. Let's see what the Bills fans are saying. I don't hate the Seahawks. I put them as one of my contenders for this year. I just didn't think you were on the train. John says that Seahawks better make the splash, though. If not Clowney, Ngakoue, or I wouldn't mind for AJ Green and taking a chance, or just sign a receiver. And yes, keep improving the defense. Heck, go for Slay. John's all in this year. Okay. All right, cool. So I'll just go with those two guys then. Let's pull them up. So Quinton Jefferson, who was one of my under the radar crushes this free agency, so I was very jealous when Buffalo signed him. The other one is, let's see, Vernon Butler, former first-round pick. Okay. There we go. All right. The Buffalo Bills have made more moves. The Bills are just stocking up on the defensive line. They've added to their edge position already with Mario Addison, and they've added to the interior of the defensive line with Quinton Jefferson and Vernon Butler. Two, I would say, perfect scheme fits for Sean McDermott's defense and what he's looking for to get after the quarterback. They did lose Jordan Phillips in the interior, so they needed to look for some value guys that they could sign to replace him and also add to the depth of this D-line. Last year, I felt like the interior defensive line of the Bills was perhaps the weakness because they really lost Phillips during the middle of the season, and Starr wasn't quite playing at the level that you would want him to play at, and Oliver hadn't yet developed into the stud that I think many of us think he'll be. So the Bills, their run defense wasn't fantastic. So what do? You gain and you add a couple of interior defensive linemen that can add some size to the interior defensive line, but also get after the quarterback and just add some depth, because I think that's a big thing for Buffalo is, like every great D-line, you need that rotation, you need that line change. And a lot of teams have kind of adapted this philosophy of having as many bodies on the D-line as humanly possible. And that's just like the Bills. You know, the Bills may not have like a top-notch defensive end or edge rusher, which maybe they'll go after one still. We're still waiting for that. Maybe it won't happen. But they have a lot of at least good players or solid players. And that's enough for McDermott to create pressure on the quarterback. So let's start off with Quinton Jefferson of the Seahawks. Jefferson, 6'4", 291. He is going on 27. He actually turns 27 at the end of March. So he's right in the prime of his career for a defensive lineman, and he had probably his best season ever last year. I know he ranked very highly for PFF, and he was one of my under-the-radar, underrated defensive linemen of this entire free agency. You look at how he's played the last two seasons. He has 6.5 sacks combined, but his quarterback hits really tell the story. 25 quarterback hits in the last two seasons. And that's 15 in 2018 and 10 last season. He had 3.5 sacks this past season. He also had 3 passes defense and a fumble recovery this year. He played 14 of the possible 16 games. And he was mostly a starter in the interior for Seattle. He's a guy that I think very good budget signing. And I think he might actually only be getting better, considering he's only really been a starter for 2 years since he was 25, now 27. I think he's going to get better. But his main strength is as a pass rusher. He's okay versus the run. He'll hold up versus the run. but his main strength is as a pass rusher. And I do think the Bills need pass rushers up front, whether that's on the edge or in the interior. You add Jefferson next to Oliver on third downs or on passing situations, and you have a duo that's going to wreak havoc and get after the quarterback. And I think this is a good replacement for Jordan Phillips. And I would not be shocked if you saw Jefferson kind of replicate some better sack numbers closer to what Phillips had. And I think his sack numbers will actually go up from Seattle, just given the scheme that Buffalo plays. And their interior guys tend to put up those sack totals. But that also could swing to Oliver, which you're expecting to have a big season in year number 2. The other ad that the Buffalo Bills had was a former first-round pick and a player that McDermott very well will know how to utilize, right? So the other player they signed was Vernon Butler. Vernon Butler is a former first-round pick from the Carolina Panthers. And I'm not quite sure if McDermott crossed over with Vernon Butler early in his career. He may have, but either way, you look at the way that a player will fit in a scheme and you try to replicate it, and that's exactly the way that Butler will come into the Buffalo defense. And I would actually argue that Butler probably will be better utilized in Buffalo because Sean McDermott's one of the better defensive coaches in the league, and he's going to be able to maximize Butler in his defense. And I think just like Jefferson, I think the strength of Butler is his pass rushing ability. This past season, he had 6 sacks, which was a huge uptick to actually fulfilling his potential. He wasn't quite able to stay with Carolina, but 6 sacks is impressive for any interior defensive lineman. It might have been a little bit circumstantial, but when he got to the quarterback, he also forced fumbles. He had 3 forced fumbles last year. He just saw an uptick in play. Like this year, he started 9 games out of the 14 games he played. And last year, the year before that, he hadn't started a single game. Like, wasn't considered a starter on the Panthers. But last year, he was a starter, so the more snaps you get, obviously, the more chances you get to sack the quarterback and make an impact. 32 tackles last year, the most of his career as well, and 8 quarterback hits, most of his career as well. Taking a look at some of the advanced stats, he also had 12 pressures on the quarterback, according to Pro Football Reference. So, good season last year for him, good player, and like I said, a pass rusher. Another guy that's going to get after the quarterback, and being from Carolina, being from Ron Rivera's defense, it's going to be a perfect scheme fit and just another depth player. And we'll see if actually this first-round pick turns into a diamond in the rough for the Buffalo Bills. So 2 potentially really good players that kind of snuck under the radar for the Bills here on the defensive line. Okay, next up, what is next? Let's check it out. We have the Lions, which I know everybody wants to get to. Danny Shelton, Daron Harmon, Desmond Trufant. I'm not missing any there, right? We have Nick Foles I got to talk about. I got to talk about the Chargers. Linval Joseph, Chris Harris. The Rams signing. Raiders made a signing. The Vikings made a signing. Well, there's a lot of stuff we got to get to. Jags made a signing. Saints made a signing. Cardinals. Dolphins made a couple. Yeah, there's a lot here. So let's get to the Lions. Let's do it. Why not? Let's give them what the people want. How about that? All right, so let's do it. The Detroit Lions, or shall I say the Detroit Patriots? I don't know. It's kind of trending that way. I know it's kind of become a joke for Lions fans, or kind of a little bit comedic at this point. Like, Patricia, Quinn, are you just going to continue to sign these former Patriots? They already had some last year, Danny Amendola, Wilson at safety. They've been stocking up on Patriot players. And now this offseason, they go out and they sign Jamie Collins. They trade for Daron Harmon. They sign Danny Shelton. I mean, at this point, it's nearly half the defense used to play for New England. But let me make this clear. These aren't just moves that are just the sake of making moves because you like the player, because you had him when you were the defensive coordinator. These guys are legitimately good players. These guys are legitimately good scheme fits because Patricia basically runs the same defense as Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. And these are players that made an impact last year for New England, which, if you watch football last year, New England was ranked first on defense last year. So obviously they're at least decent. And I think when you look at these two moves in particular, Danny Shelton and Duron Harmon from the Patriots, they're two needs, big-time needs that I think the Lions really could use. An interior defensive lineman, a big guy in the middle of their defensive line, and then a free safety center fielder that makes plays and is great in coverage in Duron Harmon. You then look at the third move they made, which was not surprisingly a Patriot signing. It was a Atlanta Falcons signing. Desmond Trufant, the corner, has signed with the Lions. That deal is 2 years, $21 million with 14 guaranteed. And the Danny Shelton move is 2 years, $8 million per. Duron Harmon is $5.7 million. So these are all moves that, they're going to cost some money, but they're definitely going to upgrade this defense. So let's start off with Danny Shelton. Danny Shelton had his best season of his NFL career last year. He was a player that came into the NFL with high expectations for the Cleveland Browns. He was a first round pick, not first overall pick. I believe he was picked like 12th overall, at least in the top 15. And he came in with high expectations. He came in as a guy that would be that nose tackle for the Browns and this athletic guy. Everybody was like, wow, look at this 300-plus pounder that can run like this and is this strong and has these measurables. And he never really lived up to that with Cleveland. And then in his first season in New England, he was good. He was solid, but he wasn't like anything special. I don't think he was really an impact player. He had his moments, specifically in the Super Bowl versus the Rams, where he was great. I mean, he was phenomenal. And one of those impact defensive players in that game. But I mean, what Patriot defender wasn't good in that game? But besides the point, he was great this year. I mean, he really took his game to the next level. I think part of that had to do with the fact that he did lose some weight. So make sure that you do check up on Danny Shelton in terms of what he's looking like physically. Did he gain weight? Did he lose weight? What's his weight at? Is he looking trim? Because Danny Shelton, just the fact that I think he lost weight, I think it made him a better conditioned player. I think it made him a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, a little bit quicker to react because he still has that strength. His strength is in his legs. He's a mover. He's going to move people in the interior of the defensive line. And where he's actually pretty underrated is his ability as a pass rusher to just push the pocket. That's what he's really good at. So Danny Shelton is one of those defensive tackles that he's not going to show up every play, but when he does show up on a play, he's going to make a big play. Like it's going to be a sack, it's going to be a tackle for loss, it's going to be a spectacular tackle by Danny Shelton shedding two guys and grabbing the running back. It's going to be that type of play. He's an impact player when he does make a play. And he played very well last year. One of the best interior linemen on the Patriots, no doubt about it last year. And he's going to be tough to replace for the Patriots. But for the Lions, he basically replaces A'Shawn Robinson. And I think you do get an upgrade there. You get a more consistent player. I think you get a better athlete than A'Shawn Robinson. Danny Shelton, for his size, which he's a big man, is actually really, really athletic. Like, I think he's probably one of the most athletic 345-pound people you'll see on earth. So there you have it. Danny Shelton, former New England Patriot with a career-high 3 sacks last season, a career-high 61 tackles last season, and a career-high 6 quarterback hits last season for New England. He's still only 26, going on 27, a former first-round pick of the Cleveland Browns. He's going to be a good one for Detroit, and I know Matt Patricia is going to know how to utilize him. Now, the second Patriot that the Detroit Lions traded for, not signed, but traded for, was Duron Harmon. I don't know the exact details of the trade. All I know that it was for late draft picks. Let me know in the comments what the exact trade was, because it slipped my mind. I don't actually know what it was, but it was nothing major. It was just a trade of draft picks. Basically, what the Patriots are doing here is they're opening up cap space because they're very tight against the cap. And Jurrell Harmon for the Patriots, I'll put it this way, is replaceable for New England. Was a good player for New England and played a great role for New England secondary. But given that New England secondary is still like, if it's not the best, it's an elite company, and they have a lot of players there that can play corner, safety. Like, who knows? They might move Jason McCourty to safety more permanently this season instead of corner. They just have tremendous depth there. So their ability to move a player for cap space, Jurrell Harmon was that player, and Detroit, he's going to be a much bigger impact player, play a little bit more than I think he did in New England, and he's going to be more important for Detroit's success than he would have been in New England. That's the way I'll put it. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, and New England will have to replace his role because he played a specific role in New England, which was the center field safety in 3 safety sets, and he played almost exclusively on passing downs. And basically, he would be out there. You would have Patrick Chung at strong safety / linebacker in the box. You would have Devon McCourty covering maybe a tight end or playing deep left side or right side. Or you would have and then you would have Jurrell Harmon as the deep safety center fielder, or you'd have him on the opposite side of Devon McCourty. Jurrell Harmon, you're almost never going to see within the 10-yard box. You're never going to see him within the first down marker. Like, it's very, very rare. He's not an in-box safety. He does not make a lot of tackles in the run game. He is a make sure that you don't give up a big play safety. And he's also a safety that has incredible play recognition skills, incredible awareness to read a quarterback, and he just doesn't give up a lot of plays. Like, the thing about Harmon is he might not show up with a lot of big plays in terms of like regularly making tackles, regularly breaking up passes. Where he shows up is as the closer, which was his nickname in terms of interceptions for the Patriots in huge games, playoff games, Super Bowls. Jurrell Harmon has done it. And then where he also shows up is where he doesn't show up, and that's in not allowing big plays. So that's the role of a safety. It's an underrated role of a safety, specifically a free safety. You don't want to give up big plays. You're the last guy back. You're the last guy allowing a touchdown. And the Patriots have regularly been one of the top teams in not allowing big plays. And part of that has been because of Jurrell Harmon. So those are the 2 Patriot moves. And the last move is Desmond Trufant at corner. Now, of course, we know that Darius Slay is going to most likely be traded sometime soon. So Desmond Trufant is going to add to the secondary. And I actually really like this move because I've been a fan of Desmond Trufant for a lot of his career, and I've really liked him for the most part. I do think that him being in that Atlanta scheme has gotten a little bit stale, and I am actually looking forward to seeing what he can do more as a man-to-man cover corner, which is what Matt Patricia likes to do. And obviously Patricia saw something on the tape where Trufant could go from a cover 3 match type of defense to more of a man-to-man defense. And I really think that Trufant might have one of his better years this year. I'm not just building you Lions fans up. I actually think this is a really good scheme fit. I think Trufant is still a good player, and even though he had kind of a down year this year, I think he might rejuvenate himself in a new scheme with a new coach on a new team. So you have Trufant, you have Justin Coleman, who's another former Patriot, at corner. I don't know if they're going to draft Okudah or not, or what they're going to do, but that would be a very nice secondary if you had 2 really solid outside corners, which Trufant is an outside corner, boundary corner, and then you have Justin Coleman in the slot. That would be interesting. You also added Jurrell Harmon to the safety position, so they go 3 or 4 deep at the safety position. So I like the Lions, the way that they're building this defense. They got an athletic linebacker in Jamie Collins. They got a big play game wrecker in Danny Shelton. They added a safety in Jurrell Harmon, and they added a corner in Desmond Trufant. And I don't think I'm missing anyone there. I might be, but those are 4 players that are all fitting needs for this defense, and I would not be shocked if this defense was significantly better in 2020. Those are the Lions moves, Lions fans, so there you go. I hope that was good enough for you. Where we go. Why do you think I'm going to jump ship from the Patriots? Come on, man. I got to say hi to Chauncey. Chauncey says, Brother Mitch, I knew you'd come. What's going on, Chauncey? Chauncey's been a long-time supporter. What's going on, buddy? King says he can moss you. I don't know who he's talking about. Conspiracy Realist says, who cares about the Lions? Niners news, please. Hey, did the Niners sign anyone today? I know they re-signed Ben Garland, but I don't know about anything else, so I don't know. Let me know if I missed anything. What did Atlanta say? I'm from Canada. What does that have to do? Who's your hometown? Oh, technically, no. Yeah, I don't have one. Oh, let's go with Ultra's top 10 teams right now. This is a classic Ultra. Number 1, the 49ers. Number 2, the Chiefs. Number 3, the Ravens. Number 4, the Seahawks. Number 5, the Saints. Number 6, the Packers. Number 7, the Bills. Number 8, the Bucks. Number 9, the Cowboys. Number 10, the Steelers. 49ers, Chiefs. Wow, you have 49ers ahead of the Super Bowl champion Chiefs who beat them in the Super Bowl. Interesting. Ravens, 3rd. 4th, Seahawks. I guess you're taking into account that the Chiefs don't have a single corner on their team other than Ward. That's my thought there. Did Brady forget he doesn't play well in the heat, says Gotti Jr.? Who knows? Did that actually happen, Slate of Philly, or are you just saying that? Imagine having the Saints only at 5, says Turtle. All right, I got to get to more of these signings before it gets too late. So, what else we have? Lions are done. Nick Foles time, baby. Let's do it. I don't even know what Nick Foles' numbers looked like last year. He was hurt for like the whole year. Ooh, that's not pretty. Okay. The Chicago Bears have made a trade. They have traded a 4th-round pick for Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP quarterback Nick Foles. And when you think of Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion type quarterbacks, you don't typically think of Nick Foles. But Nick Foles, that's what he is. And he's had success in the NFL before. He had a couple good seasons in the early 2010s, early to mid 2010s with the Philadelphia Eagles, 8-2 in 2013, where he was a Pro Bowler. 2014, 6-2 as a starter. He's also had injury issues in his career, which he had last year. And, of course, the incredible run that he had in the Super Bowl versus New England, versus the Vikings in the NFC Championship, and even versus Atlanta in the divisional round of the 2017 NFL playoffs. Nick Foles is basically a way to push Mitchell Trubisky. The Bears obviously did not want to bring in a quarterback like they were rumored to do with, let's say, Cam Newton or even Tom Brady, or even a guy that would be a little bit more of a replacement of Trubisky. Let's just put it the way it should be put. Those guys would replace Mitchell Trubisky. But when you look at Nick Foles, I don't think you necessarily get the sense that he's a straight-up replacement for Mitch Trubisky. I think these two guys are going to fight it out in training camp, but I do think Trubisky gets the edge in terms of what the Bears want, in terms of they want Mitchell Trubisky to still be the starting quarterback. And it's weird because Trubisky has shown his potential at times. He's also shown that, like last year, he had a pretty awful season. And he did not play to the level he was expected to play last year. Some of that is on the offensive line, but most of it's on Trubisky. And I think that Nick Foles is a totally different type of quarterback, which really makes me wonder. I know that they do have some connections to Nick Foles for the Bears, specifically with the quarterback, coach. I know that DeFilippo is there in Chicago, I believe. So that's a connection from both the Eagles and the Jags days with Nick Foles. And also, Nagy had a little bit of a connection with Nick Foles, considering that Foles was the backup for Kansas City while Nagy was there. So, Foles, I think what you look at here is a guy that they knew, meaning Nagy knew, meaning this staff knew, and they knew what this player was like. They knew what the personality was like, and they were willing to say, okay, if we need to go away from Trubisky, or this is the type of personality, this is the type of player that we think would be perfect to bring in to not just push Trubisky, but also maybe possibly help him. But if Trubisky doesn't play up to his level, he can replace him and he can run this offense. I've seen him do it before. It might be a different type of offense. It might not be as athletically centered as it is with Mitchell Trubisky, where Trubisky has good ability to scramble and move and get outside the pocket and throw on the run. Those are some of his assets. With Nick Foles, that's the complete opposite. He's a statue in the pocket. He's a quick passer. He's a quick decision maker. He doesn't like to throw the ball down the field very often. Although he can do it. He has a good arm. He can take hits. He's very tough. He's tall. He's big. He's built. But he's also injury prone. And we've seen that Nick Foles is a better backup than he is a starter. Whenever he's given the opportunity to be a starter, he's never been able to fully capitalize. But as a backup, he's been really good. So basically that's my thoughts on the move. Didn't play well last year. Played really well with the Eagles in moments in 2018. On that run to the playoffs, getting them back in it, and then, of course, winning that Super Bowl. I think Nick Foles could come in for the Bears. He's a slight upgrade, in my opinion, over Mitchell Trubisky if they want to go that route, but he's also a guy that's not necessarily, you're not saying out loud that Trubisky has already lost the job. So that's my thoughts on Nick Foles going to the Bears. I need to connect my charger to my laptop real quick, or this is going to die. So let's do that. We're doing it live. How about that? Okay. We're good. I can stay on here for another 24 hours. Clowney didn't go to Buffalo. Rumor Slay is going to be traded to the Eagles. Apparently, we'll see if it happens. But they'd finally have a cornerback. Chargers aren't getting Cam. They aren't interested. Yes, I heard that Tyrod's going to be the guy. Check Twitter. I'm checking Twitter. Nope. Nothing. News doesn't typically come out this late. So, what's next? Guys, if you haven't already, Gronk spike the like button. And if you're just joining me live here, subscribe to the channel. I'm having fun this free agency. Free agency is like my favorite time of year. I love it. I love talking about these players. I love the possibilities. I love the rumors. I love the trades. I love everything about it. The Chargers, they just signed Linval Joseph and Chris Harris, right? Did the Chargers sign anybody other than those two guys today? The Chargers. Da-da-da-da. I'll have to do that at the beginning of the video, Chris. Let's look at this. Chargers. I think that's it. All right. Let's do it. Linval Joseph. Joseph's been around. Okay. All right. The LA Chargers are busy this free agency. They didn't get Tom Brady, but what they did get was a huge upgrade defensively. They brought in Linval Joseph on the defensive line to help beef up the middle of their defense. And they signed Chris Harris, one of the best corners of the past, 10 to 15 years in the NFL. I mean, these two guys are going to be awesome for the Chargers. And they upgrade two spots that the Chargers really needed to upgrade. They upgraded the third corner spot or the second corner spot or whatever way you want to put it. Now the Chargers have one of the best corner trios in the league, arguably the best, with Chris Harris, Desmond King, and Casey Hayward. This is one of the best trios in the league. They can play man, they can play zone, they can play anything, and they can lock down receivers across the board. And that's very important when you consider that you're playing the Chiefs 2 times a season. Linval Joseph is going to add to the beef of this D-line. Add to the D-line that really needed to get beef up front. And I do like that they've added a little bit of size to this defensive line because that's kind of been a weakness of the Chargers for the past couple of seasons. They've been all about the athletic, speedy, finesse defensive linemen. And this season, this offseason, they've gone out and they've added a huge man. And they also did that last year in the draft. So Joseph, 6'4", 329 pounds. He is 31 going on 32 years old. So 2 veterans for the Chargers, which is kind of interesting because I didn't expect them to go that route. If I'm surprised by any team this free agency, it is the LA Chargers. I'm surprised that they're going so hard after these veteran players because these aren't young guys. These are veterans. Both have been former Pro Bowlers. Joseph was a Pro Bowler in 2016 and 2017. Past season in 2019, he played 13 games. He had 3 sacks, 44 tackles, 6 quarterback hits. Joseph is mostly known for his ability to stop the run. He, at times in his career, has been better as a pass rusher than others. Earlier in his career, I would say he was a better pass rusher because he had a little bit more wiggle, a little bit more quickness, and a little bit more youth to him. Now he's a big plugger in the middle, and he's still phenomenal at run stuffing, run stopping, and he's one of the strongest defensive linemen in the league. He's going to add that element to this Chargers defense, an element that has been very much needed for a long time. So it's going to take pressure off Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram for their ability to stop the run. And when you have a big guy like this who's so disruptive and such a player to handle in the middle of a defense, that's going to make offenses change the way they run the football and the way they scheme up runs because you know you have to block this guy in the middle. So Linval Joseph, I love this signing. He was basically just released from the Vikings because they needed cap space, and he was making a little bit too much for their taste. But with the Chargers, I think he is going to add one of their missing pieces. They didn't have many missing pieces on the defense, but this is perhaps one of the best missing pieces adds of the entire free agency so far. The other ad, of course, was Chris Harris, former All-Pro. At one point in his career, some would argue was the best corner in football at certain points. But Chris Harris is still very good. Chris Harris last year for the Broncos lined up versus number 1 receivers basically every game, whether it was outside or it was in the slot. And the thing I love about this move is that now you have 3 corners who not only can play on the outside or can play in the slot, but all of them have experience playing as boundary corners, and all of them have experience playing as slot corners, as nickel corners. So that versatility is there. Plus, Chris Harris is such a smart player, such a good player in the run game as well, that I could even see him making the switch to safety if need be. Like, that's the type of player this guy is. He's just such a great football mind, such a good man-to-man player. And yes, he doesn't quite have the speed he used to, but he's still very physical at the line of scrimmage and still very quick side to side, which makes him still a really good slot corner. He might not be the guy he was in his prime, but he's still probably one of the at least 20 best corners in the game, if not top 15, if not borderline top 10. He was really good at times last year, but the Broncos secondary around him kind of fell apart, fell to pieces. Chris Harris will be a major upgrade to their number 3 slot at the corner position, and I love these 2 moves. Stealing from a rival, from the Broncos, love it. Getting a big, beefy man in the middle of your defensive line was much needed for the Chargers. So Linval Joseph, Chris Harris, 2 excellent signings for the LA Chargers. What's the chat saying? I feel like I missed a signing by the Chargers, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to check the Twitter just in case, so I don't have to go back. Oh, I'm being told there are ongoing discussions right now regarding the framework of a 3-year extension as part of a trade that would send Darius Slay to the Eagles. Okay, so that is the thing. You guys are telling the truth. I never got a notification for it, though. At least I haven't yet. So we'll wait as that breaks live. That will be exciting. If it does break live tonight. Cam J. Gardner. Thanks for the tweet. Search the Twitter. I want to check the Chargers. Guys, what signing should I do next? Let me know. Okay, Joseph. What do you guys think of the Chargers staying with Tyrod Taylor? I mean, I'm not so sure about that. I don't love it. I don't mind Tyrod, but I think he's more of like a high-class backup than he is a starter. I think that's everything, man, on the Chargers. Fowler says Ultra. Ultra's been waiting for the Fowler move. Some people say Malcolm Jenkins. Some people say Pierce. Okay, we'll do Fowler. We'll do Fowler. I can't believe Fowler's only been playing since 2016. It feels like he's been playing for years. Okay. Let me know what happens with that Slay deal. I also got to check out what the money is for this. Fowler. Oh, I might actually have that on my notes. Three-year deal. Okay, it doesn't have the exact money. Whatever. Money doesn't really matter. He got a lot of money. How about that? Okay. The Atlanta Falcons have signed another much-needed edge rusher. After letting go of Vic Beasley, Adrian Claiborne is a free agent, and just overall lacking an edge rusher for quite some time, the Atlanta Falcons have made Dante Fowler their man. Originally, Fowler was drafted to be a part of a similar defensive scheme in Jacksonville, where he did put up some numbers and did show some of his potential. He then was traded to the LA Rams, and this past season, he had his best season of his career, finally looking like that high first-round pick that we thought he might be. But some people said, that was just Aaron Donald taking up all the blockers and Fowler feasting off of it. Well, you know what? I'll say this. Fowler played with Calais Campbell and all the beasts in Jacksonville, and it didn't really matter that much. I mean, he wasn't the player he was last year, and I would say that Jacksonville D-line in 2017, 2018 was pretty awesome too. So maybe it was a scheme thing. Maybe Fowler fit the Rams scheme a little bit better, and I think that's the question you got to ask yourself if you're an Atlanta fan and if you're the Atlanta Falcons, and we'll have to see how he looks in this scheme. But overall, I think Fowler was honestly surprising that he didn't sign a little bit earlier in free agency, because he's a really young player still. He was only drafted in 2016, and I know it seems like he's been playing forever, but he's only 25, and he's going on 26. He's born in August, so he'll be 26 by the time the season begins. But, I mean, as a rookie, puts up 4 sacks, 5 passes defense, 11 quarterback hits, which was his second best total in quarterback hits. 2017, where Jacksonville had that phenomenal defense, he feasted with 8 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries, 2 forced fumbles. So he put up numbers there. 10 quarterback hits, a touchdown. 2018, he played for 2 different teams. He had 4 sacks, he had 6 quarterback hits, and really what I like from Fowler that season was his playoff run. He had a great Super Bowl versus New England. He had a really good NFC Championship versus the Saints, and he showed that he is a handful for opposing defenders, or I should say offensive linemen, trying to protect their quarterback from Dante Fowler. 2019, 11.5 sacks, his best sack total yet, 6 passes defense, his best total yet, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 16 quarterback hits, and 16 tackles for loss, all career highs, including 58 tackles, also a career high. He did play more as a starter this year than any other year, though, so I will throw that out. But whenever I watch the Rams, he stuck out. Like when you watch the film of the Rams defense last year, Fowler, other than Donald, was the guy that stuck out on a regular basis. And you're going to see him stick out for Atlanta because he's just such a phenomenal athlete. He's quick. He's fast off the ball. He's really good in terms of his bend around the corner to get to the quarterback. And for certain tackles, he's going to be just absolutely frustrating to block because when he has the advantage, when he has the edge on a tackle throughout the course of a day, he's one of those players that can take over a game from the edge position. That's why I was so kind of surprised that he wasn't signed earlier or given an even bigger contract. I think this is actually a really good money for Dante Fowler. It wasn't too expensive. And I'm surprised that Atlanta was actually able to make this move considering the cap issues they had coming into free agency. When taking a look at some of his advanced stats, he had 35 pressures this season, 24 as a rookie, and 16 last year. 35 is a good number. That's pretty impressive. He had 19 hurries, and overall, just a good season. I mean, he can even drop into coverage a little bit. He has that athleticism to play the outside linebacker role if need be. And just, again, a really good athlete, a young guy, not even in his prime yet. I mean, you could argue that last year he entered his prime, but I think this is an awesome signing. The only question I have is whether the fit was better in a Rams-esque system than in the Atlanta system. But obviously, Quinn and the guys in Atlanta saw the fit to be perfect, and they saw the need to be there. So now with Tack McKinley on one edge, Grady Jarrett in the middle, and you have the other edge being Dante Fowler, all of a sudden this defensive line is a lot better and a lot better pass rushing wise. Now, I do want to see them get a little bit better from a run perspective, stopping the run, but when you play Breeze and you play Brady, you need these guys that can get after the quarterback on a consistent basis. By the way, Fowler has had some good games versus Brady before, so just throwing that out there. But Brady will be in the division, so you always have to consider that, as well as Drew Brees, who are both pocket passers and not guys that are going to be slipping those edge rushers on a regular basis. So there you go. Fowler to the Atlanta Falcons. Did the trade break yet? Let's come on. Giants signed Cameron Fleming. Coach sent me the text. I'll have to add that to the list. My pen doesn't work live on air. Get this. And that pen doesn't work either. Let's keep going down the list. That one works. Cam Fleming. 1 year, NYG. Let's check Twitter real quick. See the Slay news. It's been a long time since they've had a corner like him. I mean, I would argue like Asante Samuel. That was the last time they had a corner like him. I don't see anything. But we'll continue to go until we hear this. Framework of the deal in place to send Darius Slay to the Eagles with extension according to Pro Football Talk. Mike Florio coming in. Okay. All right, Ultra. See you later. I knew he was going to leave after the Atlanta signing. Michael Pierce, says Samuel. So Michael Pierce will be next. Defensive tackle. Okay, what else do I have after the Carl Joseph, Malcolm Jenkins, Devon Kennard, Ted Karras, Landon Roberts, Xavier Su'a-Filo. That's how you say his name, right? Sean Davis, Eli Apple, Leonard, Floyd, and Jurrell Casey. Forgot about that. Okay, Michael Pierce. The Minnesota Vikings have signed interior disruptor and mauler Michael Pierce of the Baltimore Ravens. Michael Pierce, coming into free agency, was, in my opinion, one of the best run stuffers out there on the market. Basically, what you're getting, Vikings fans, is a younger Linval Joseph. I'm going to be honest. A younger Linval Joseph. Now, a different type of body type. Michael Pierce, you'd be surprised. Stocky dude. Like, he's a stocky guy. He's like 6 feet, but he's 340 pounds. He is all butt, legs, and just lower body. Like, when you look at this guy, like, look at pictures at him. He's just going to hold up versus the run like nobody's business. And that's what the Ravens defensive linemen are known for. They're known for stuff in the run, especially guys in the interior. And I think Pierce is going to fit this defense well, being that it's more of a 4-man front as opposed to a 3-man front that he would play in Baltimore. And in 14 games last year, he had a half a sack. He's not a pass rusher. The most he's ever had in his career is 2 sacks. He had 3 quarterback hits. He's not going to get a lot of pressure. He's basically a really, really good run stuffer, like one of the best in the league. And he's decently young. I mean, he's 27. So you're going to have some seasons with him. Now, when I look at the contract, I don't love it. I don't love the contract because basically you're paying a really good one-dimensional player. And I don't know if I ever like doing that, like paying a really good run stuffer, a guy that impacts the run game more so than the pass game. When I want to pay someone a lot of money, he's got to do both well, or he's got to be really good as a pass rusher. Like, that's what I want. That's me personally. But in terms of the Vikings, I mean, they don't really need a pass rusher. As long as they bring back Everson Griffin, which is still the plan, and as long as they have Danielle Hunter, I mean, those two guys are going to be pass rushers. The defensive tackles in the Vikings scheme have never really been pass rushers. They've been mostly run stuffers. So I understand the scheme fit, but I just think the overpay is slightly there for Michael Pierce. Now, taking a look at some of his advanced statistics, again, not super impressive from a pressure perspective. He, according to Pro Football Reference, has had 8 pressures in 2 seasons. That's nothing, okay? The guy rarely plays in pass situations, but you're getting a really, really good run stuffer. I can't put it any more plain than that. Last year, he played 49% of the snaps, 483. The season before, he played 38%. And the season before that, he played 54%. So the most he's ever played was in 2017, 54% of the snaps. He doesn't play over 55% of snaps for a team because he is that rundown specialist. I would expect him to play more snaps in Minnesota because Minnesota doesn't rotate their line quite the way other teams do. They like to play their starters a little bit more. So I would expect them to do that with Pierce, make him a little bit more of a maybe near like 60% snap on a regular basis type of guy. But in Michael Pierce, the Vikings replace and get younger at the defensive tackle position, getting rid of Linval Joseph, bringing in Pierce for close to the same amount of money. But I do feel like for a player that's this one-dimensional, it is a little bit pricey. Those are my thoughts on Michael Pierce going to the Vikings. They traded Slay officially? Like officially? Max, you're going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Big Boy says, can you please talk about Ted Karras? Yes, I'm also going to talk about Landon Roberts. We'll get to that. Javon Hargrave. I've already covered that. I think so. I can't remember at this point. I made like 40 videos on free agency. I'm pretty sure I already covered Javon Hargrave to the Eagles. Yeah, I did. I definitely did. Let's see if AC wants to jump on the Skype. See if he'll react to this move. Not official yet? All right. It's basically official. If it's not official by the time I go off air, I'll just talk about it because it's basically official and I don't want to have to talk about it at a different time. So what should we do next? Do the Dolphins, Ted Karras and Landon Roberts? That was what was asked, so let's do that. Okay. The Miami Patriots have added more Patriots to their team. I'm just kidding. The Dolphins. I'm sorry, Dolphins fans. I will never say that again. But Brian Flores continues to add his old pals from New England. Ted Karras at center, who started the entire year this past season at center for New England, protecting Tom Brady and opening up holes for Sony Michel and the boys. And then you sign a man that will run over. I can't say the words, but just check it on Twitter or look it up on YouTube. Landon Roberts is that man. He is that dude. He is a tough SOB. He is, I would argue, Stone Cold Steve Austin move over. He's the toughest son of a gun that you've seen in the NFL. I mean, Landon Roberts, you're going to love him. He's an awesome player, and really because of his intangibles. He was a backup linebacker who turned into kind of like a specialist type of linebacker for New England, but he was a captain. Like, he was a captain for Bill Belichick's Patriots, Super Bowl champions, and he played fullback this year. That's like, he played fullback, he played linebacker, he plays special teams, he does it all, and he'll be missed on New England for his versatility and for his toughness and for his grit and for his just attitude. And I think that's what Flores really wanted when he brought him in. That's a 2-year contract for Landon Roberts. What I really like about Roberts' game in terms of his linebacker play is he's excellent as a run defender. He's really good downhill. He has great pursuit. He makes plays, shoots gaps. He's great in short yardage situations. He's actually short. Like, I think he's under 6 feet, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's like 5'11", but he's big. He's like 240, something like that. He's a stocky guy, but he has really good acceleration for a linebacker. Not great side to side. He's not a great cover linebacker. He has shown progress in that area, but he's mostly a run stuffing, run stopping, sideline to sideline run stopper. Not really like a cover the running back, cover the tight end, be an athlete type of guy. He's like get in the middle of the pile type of linebacker. And who knows, maybe he'll play some fullback too, but he will serve on special teams and he will add a little bit of experience, winning experience, and leadership certainly to the Miami defense. The other signing is Ted Karras, center, who played the entire season for New England as a starter, and he's played solid, like replacing David Andrews for the Patriots. That's no easy task. Captain, Super Bowl champion, one of the best centers in the game. And Ted Karras, really, when he came in, didn't really miss a beat too much, really. I mean, he was solid and a good pass protector, good run blocker, overall solid. I think what you're going to get from him is a guy that's reliable at center. He's not going to be a stud, but I think PFF ranked him at like 20th overall for the center position, so he's kind of average, right? He's average. And I would actually say he's a better pass protector than a run blocker, but overall pretty even. And he's kind of one of those linemen that has worked his way up. I mean, I remember when Ted Karras was on the roster, like as the last guy on the roster, like 53rd guy. And then eventually there's some injuries. He gets his spot at center. He also, before just this season, like last year, seasons before, he's filled in for Andrews and other players, played a little bit of guard, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, just a solid guy. Like, nothing too fantastic. You're not getting like a Hall of Fame center here, but you're definitely getting an NFL starter and a reliable player and another tough player and another player that is going to add to the culture of the Miami Dolphins, which is always great. So Ted Karras and Landon Roberts, 2 former Patriots, land in Miami. There you go. There you go, Dolphins fans. Busboy says, I scared. Is Slay officially... Wait, what? What are you guys talking about in the chat? Stop saying stuff. What are you guys saying? I never know if you're telling the truth. I'm going to laugh if the Patriots quarterback's Cody Kessler, says Max. Roland says, that's great news. We now have the Detroit Patriots having Belichick as the Lions coach. Are you actually serious? That's not a real thing. Don't get me confused. Kevin Durkan says, don't call us the Miami Patriots ever again. Do you guys like this? It's always football season on the Bottom Line View. That's why you got to subscribe, guys. That's why you got to subscribe. Got to soften up those vocal cords. Okay, who's next? Malcolm Jenkins, maybe? Malcolm Jenkins sound good? Carl Joseph, Ashawn Robinson. I should start deleting these so I don't get confused. Actually, I want to keep them, but... Okay, let me do some sorting. That would probably be the craziest trade of all time if the Patriots traded Bill Belichick. Imagine. Imagine. That'd be wild. Especially after not retaining Brady. Imagine the Patriot fans just going absolutely insane. I'm sure other fans would love it, but the question is, could Bill Belichick turn around the Lions of all teams? The team that is cursed. Could he do it? Just sorting out my notes here. Get these. I still got quite a few left to go. I forgot Eli Apple signed. That's the funniest thing, of this offseason. That I predicted Eli Apple to sign with the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders. And I actually got that right. That was a total guess. I don't even know. I don't even know how that happened. But when I saw it, I just started laughing because I was like, how did this, this is hilarious to me. Big play Slay to the Eagles. Roland says that we haven't had a legitimate coach in Detroit. I think you could argue that, certainly. I think why Patricia is trying to sign as many guys as possible is because this is the year that he can prove himself in terms of if he's the long-term solution or if he's going to get fired. That's pretty much it. I think if Patricia doesn't make it happen this year, he's back in New England next year as the defensive coordinator. Belichick loves Cleveland players, says Max. Okay. Let's do Malcolm Jenkins next. Is Turtle still in the chat or did he leave? That traitor. 32. Okay. My question is, Are the Saints not going to be able to afford Von Bell now? Interesting. He is a free agent still, I believe. He didn't re-sign, did he? Did Von Bell re-sign, Saints fans? Turtles in the chat. What a guy. Von Bell didn't re-sign, right? Okay. Well, let's do Malcolm Jenkins. Okay. Malcolm Jenkins is returning. Do you call it home? I don't know. I don't know if you could quite call it home because he's made a legacy in Philadelphia, but he is returning to the New Orleans Saints. Malcolm Jenkins, longtime NFL player, started his career in New Orleans in 2009, has made a name for himself in Philadelphia as a multiple-time Pro Bowler. He is a Super Bowl champion, and he is really known across the NFL as a great leader with a great reputation amongst teammates. And he is ready to bring another Super Bowl to New Orleans. Malcolm Jenkins is going to add to the Saints secondary for this season and beyond. He is currently 32 years old, will not turn 33 until December, late baby. But Malcolm Jenkins, overall, I mean, I've always really loved Malcolm Jenkins. I remember early in his career, like he was one of my favorite guys coming out of the draft. I wanted my Patriots to pick him. And I really loved the way that he was like he was like really versatile. He could play corner, he could play free safety, he could play strong safety. He was really smart. He was a great tackler. I mean, coming out of the draft, when New Orleans picked him, he really didn't have a hole in his game. And that's why I liked him. And I think he still doesn't have a hole in his game, really. I mean, he might not be the best in terms of his athletic profile might not be what it used to be when he was with the Saints early in his career. He might not be as fast. He might not be as quick. He might not be able to cover man on man the way he used to and that sort of stuff. But Jenkins is still an incredibly smart player. He's an excellent tackler. He's a great in-box or out-of-box safety, whether that's deep, playing the deep middle of the field or just over the middle. I think where he really succeeds the best and where he's best fit is he can really play that in-box role better than a lot of safeties in the league. And a lot of that has been because he has those corner skills where he could have, man-on-man guys. And really, I still think he can man-on-man tight ends across the league. He's a great leader. I think he's going to add a dimension to this Saints secondary that hasn't been there, I think. Like that veteran presence that's been there, done that, the voice of the room, the voice of the huddle, that guy. And I think that's what's been missing from the Saints secondary. He's also a player that I think gets really underrated for his ability to put a defense in the right play, to call audibles on the field. Usually safeties aren't known for doing that, but Malcolm Jenkins is that type of player. In Philadelphia especially, he's kind of become known for his ability to put the Eagles in the right play or sense what an offense is going to do and shift the play and audible. And usually that's the linebacker responsibility. I think that might be the biggest thing that the Eagles miss going forward with Malcolm Jenkins. Jenkins, of course, is also known for some of his things off the field in terms of some of the things politically that he's done and the way that he has basically impacted the player association and just the players around the league. And I think that's where he gets his big reputation for being a great dude from. So Jenkins is back in New Orleans. He's back ready to win a Super Bowl. This is the type of win now move that I was expecting from the Saints to make. And the question remains, will the Saints bring back Von Bell? Honestly, it doesn't look like they will. It looks like instead that they've brought back Malcolm Jenkins to replace him and Bell will go somewhere else. I could be totally wrong, but when looking at the Saints secondary now, they still have Marcus Williams at free safety. Jenkins could play strong safety or free safety, like I said. They have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, a rookie from last year, and that's kind of their 3 safety rotation right now. If they bring back Bell, that would be 4 safeties. I kind of expected them to use this money on corner, which I'm a tad surprised they didn't. Eli Apple's gone. PJ Williams is a free agent. I kind of expected them to use it on a second cornerback, and they haven't done that. Maybe they're looking to the draft to do so. Maybe they're looking at other veteran corners at a lower price, but I'd expect them to add a guy there as well. But I think Jenkins, what he does do well is he'll cover tight ends, he'll cover running backs, he'll be in the box and tackle well, and he just adds a great leader on and off the field for the Saints. So that's my thoughts on Malcolm Jenkins going back to New Orleans. There you go, Malcolm Jenkins. A word on the what did the Browns do? Carl Joseph, I'll get to him next. The Jackrabbit. Is he the answer? No official news on Slay yet. I don't think there's been any actual details to the Slay trade yet. I'm going to do Carl Joseph next. Interesting stats by Warren Sharp. If Darius Slay is traded to the Eagles, he's done outstanding versus Amari Cooper. Cooper versus Philly, 5 games, 44 targets, 4 touchdowns, 11 yards per attempt, 98 yards per game, 64 catch rate. Cooper versus Detroit, 3.5 yards per attempt, 21 yards per game, 33 catch percentage. Yeah, that's really good. So, Slay, time to take on Amari. Slay's a guy that I don't think gets respected enough. He's good. I will do Casey for sure. Puss boy. Okay, let's do Carl Joseph quick. Browns fans, they didn't sign anyone other than Carl Joseph today, right? I'm not wrong. Okay. The Cleveland Browns have signed a low-risk but very high-reward safety, Carl Joseph, strong safety, formerly of the Oakland slash Vegas Raiders, is going to the Cleveland Browns. Carl Joseph is a former first-round pick and a player at times with the Raiders that has shown a lot of promise. The problem with Joseph has been injuries. In 2016, he played 12 games. In 2017, he played 15, which is the most he's ever played. In 2018, he played 13. And in 2019, he played 9. So he's been on and off with injuries, often playing through injuries for a large portion of his Raiders career. I think with the Browns, there's an opportunity here to get the true potential of Carl Joseph. What Joseph is, if you use him correctly, is a very good in-box safety. I think of him as like a Patrick Chung or like one of those type of in-box downhill safeties. He's like a semi-linebacker. He's got pretty good size for the position. Like, he's a big dude. He's 5'10", but he's like 200 pounds. He's 26 years old. And Joseph, I don't really see as a cover guy. I think where you could see him be best at is that run stuffing safety. Like, if you utilize him the way that teams utilize like Landon Collins, like use him as a blitzer, use him as that versatile piece in the box that can add to the linebacking group. That's where Joseph plays best at. You don't want him to be man on guys. You don't want him to be deep as a free safety. That's not his game. He is an in-box guy, and that's where he's best at. He's a hard hitter. He's a good tackler, and he's a good athlete, but it's more in his deceptive power from the safety position and his lateral ability more so than his straight up speed or just coverage ability. So Joseph overall, a player that I see as, again, a high pick in the past that can be turned from a diamond in the rough to a legitimate starter and actually a good player in the right scheme, in the right system. We'll have to see how Cleveland utilizes him this season in their defense. There's been some shifting in their philosophy on defense in recent seasons, and we'll just have to see what they think. I like the ad in terms of a fit, in terms of a need, because the Browns needed a safety badly coming into this free agency, and I'm not really surprised that they went after this player. I'm not surprised that they went after Karl Joseph, but I'm also a little bit surprised that they haven't gone after more of the free safety type. Maybe they still have yet to do that, and they still plan on doing that, but Joseph should play next year, at least in a 3-safety rotation, if not as a starter at strong safety. And like I said, at the very least, you take a chance on a former high draft pick. At the most, you get a good caliber box safety. So there you go. Karl Joseph going to the Cleveland Browns, helping this defense, a little bit of depth in the secondary for Cleveland. So Karl Joseph is done. Busboy. Just like how our damn parents told us that we're made from, I don't even know. Why are you in caps, bro? No, I don't. Yes, I'll talk about Denver. They got Jurrell Casey. Jurrell Casey's next. Damn, we have over 200 people in this chat right now. We only have 60 likes and 200 people in the chat. What's going on? Let's get those likes up. Get those likes up. I'm not doing another one until we get at least 70 likes on here. Come on. That's not a good ratio. I got to be putting up better numbers than that. That's like a center putting up only 3 rebounds a night. Come on. Let's do it. Gronk spike the like button. 70 likes or else I'm not going. I'm getting off this stream right now. Should be in bed, but everybody is not really doing anything with their life right now. So I understand it. Being in this chat. What a better way to spend your Wednesday night than being in a Bottom Line View chat. Guys, I should also take the time to advertise a couple of things as it's been on screen all stream. My Twitter, if you want to follow me for my latest tweets on my immediate thoughts on most of the signings and the trades in the NFL. I tweet constantly throughout the day, so make sure you follow me at Mitch Milani. You can also follow me on Instagram at the same name, Mitch Milani, MITCHMILANI, as it says there. And the Discord chat, you can also join. I'm going to get you a link right now for the Discord chat. It is in the description. That link should work. If it doesn't, I'll have to get another one. But let me know. Guys, join that Discord chat. Get the community flowing in the Discord. You get constant updates for when my videos are out. You get updates for when I'm going to go live. You can talk to me about any of your teams or ask me questions. That's the whole point of the Discord, is to get the community connected and have instant access to basically me so that you know what's going on the channel. So join that Discord. Even if you don't have Discord, download the app and join the group. It won't hurt you. It will only help you get the content. So do that. Turtle wants to join. Follow him on TikTok. I've made one TikTok video. I'm not. It might just be the lighting making me look good, like Skip Bayless on a Monday morning. Yeah, man, why not? Nice, Notorious. Thank you, man. All right. Yeah, I did Bruce Irvin a human. I'll release that tomorrow. Busboy's mad that I haven't posted on TikTok. Okay, let me sort this out, and then I'll get to the next signing. So, who's next? Casey? Casey is next. We still have Ashawn Robinson. I did Joseph. We have Rodney Gunter. Devon Kennard. Do you guys want me to do Su'a-Filo? I don't know if there's any Bengals fans in here. Like, that's like a lower tier one. I could do Eli Apple. I know I have lots of Raiders fans. Leonard Floyd. I also have that. How much money is Casey making right now? That's a good question. That would give me a lot of context. I'm TikTok famous. I think I have like 10 likes on there total. TikTok famous. Jurrell Casey. Okay, so he's making $11 million. That's actually not bad. Okay. All right, let's do it. With arguably the move of free agency, the Denver Broncos trade just a 7th round pick. A 7th. I mean, I had to pick up my phone and literally read the tweet from Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport 6-7 times. I was like, 7th round pick. That's not a 1. It's a 7. That's weird. Okay, Jurrell Casey is going to the Denver Broncos for just a 7th round pick. Jurrell Casey is a Pro Bowl defensive lineman and one of the best interior 3-4 base, interior disruptors, beasts, animals in the league. And a huge reason the Tennessee Titans, I continue to say it year after year, Jurrell Casey is the number one reason the Titans are always in the top 10 versus the run. Literally, go back 5 years since Casey has become a name in the NFL, like a decently known name across the league. And they've been in the top 10. No matter who the coach has been, no matter who the coordinator has been, no matter who's around him. I mean, Casey makes it happen, and they just never seem to give up rushing yards. And that's a lot to do with Jurrell Casey because he's such a stud. He takes on multiple blockers every play, and he also makes plays in the passing game. Now, I don't know. This is interesting because he might be getting down to the downward slope of his career, but I still feel like he's a really good player. The Denver Broncos, we know that they've been looking for interior defensive linemen, right? Well, Casey is that playmaker that is going to make a difference. I thought they were going to sign at least one big name on the D-line, and Casey is definitely that big name. And from the Tennessee Titans perspective, we thought that they were doing this because of salary cap. When I really look at the cap situation, and that very well could be the case, right? They probably can't re-sign him next year. But when you're thinking about the Titans, this might be a significant loss in their chances to go back to the playoffs and make some noise in the playoffs again. That's a big guy to replace, not just literally, but also, that's a good player. That's a player that's well-respected in the locker room, a leader, all of that stuff that you're going to have to replace on your defense. And he has a few years left on his contract. He signed until he's 32 years old. He's making 11 this year. He's making 12 next year and 13 the year after. And I think $11 million in 2020 for a player of his caliber at this position, in how valuable this position is in Fangio's defense, is a pretty darn good deal. I mean, this is going to be your Akeem Hicks for this defense. What Akeem Hicks was for the Bears with Fangio, right? That's what Jurrell Casey's going to do for this defense. He's good all around. I really can't say that Casey has a weakness. Now, what I can say about Casey, for those of you that don't really know his playing style, he's a big guy. He's not an edge rusher. He's not speed rusher. He's a power rusher. He's a big guy. He's 6'1", 305. He's 30 years old, which honestly isn't that old. He's consistently been to the Pro Bowl. I mean, ever since 2015, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in a row in the Pro Bowl. Since 2013, where he had 10 and a half sacks, that's his best season ever as a pass rusher. He's had at least 5 sacks every year as an interior defensive lineman. He had 10 quarterback hits this year, 44 tackles, and the 5 sacks. When taking a look at it from a advanced perspective, he had 28 pressures last year, 21 this year, 7 sacks last year, 5 sacks this year. It's also important to note he played less games this year, 14 as opposed to 15. So it does look like in his statistics that he is a little bit in a decline, but it's still a really good player that the Denver Broncos are getting. The snap counts are interesting to always note for defensive linemen. In 2013-2014, he was playing about 80% of the snaps. In 2017, he played 80%. In 2018, he played 71%, and in 2019, he played 64%, which is the lowest of his career. So when you're looking at this from a Tennessee perspective, you could see why potentially they made this trade. He's playing less snaps, he's less productive, he's getting older. It makes sense. But I do believe that within Denver's defense, with Fangio as his coach, you could see him have a second career in Denver. Like another 3, 4, 5 really good years, because he's going to suit this defense well. Fangio gets the most out of these type of players. And I think $11 million is not bad, considering some of the players that make the same amount of money. So I really like this move. I want to see the Broncos continue to add to their secondary, though. That's the main place I want to see them continue to add to. But defensive line-wise, they look pretty good right now. And front seven-wise, they're looking pretty good. So Broncos defense is going to be good under Fangio. And the Broncos are a team not to take lightly in 2020 with Jurrell Casey. There you go. Jurrell Casey. 217 people. We got 217 people in here, and we only have 75 likes. I mean, 75. Can we get to 100, at least like almost close to half? Turtle, you're not doing your job. You're supposed to be hyping it up. Busboy says we're doing an all-nighter. I'm just doing this until I'm done this list, to be honest with you. Gotta love it. No problem. Turtle says Drew Lock isn't a real quarterback. Ben. Let's get classic. Yeah, Turtle, that's better. Can I join the stream on Discord call? Okay, we'll get Busboy on here. I don't know if you can join it, but you can say some things if you like. How do I even do this? I've never done this before. Dun, dun, dun. Do I have to like get invited or something? Voice channel. Turtle. Don't be sarcastic in this chat. Any update on the Slay trade? Okay, let's check that out. Come on. Slay. I think it's pretty close to finalized. Is Locke legit? Honestly, I don't know yet. I think he looked good for a rookie. I'll say that. But I don't know if I'm like 100% on the train. This is a good point. Why get rid of Casey if they don't have something up their sleeve? We'll have to see. Maybe they do. Maybe they're in the Clowney sweepstakes. That's a possibility. I'm flexing my phone. Sorry. I'm trying to get this voice chat going. Oh, Busboy called me. I didn't get the call. Busboy, call me back. I'll call him. Let's see. Busboy's coming on. See, if you guys get in the Discord, you can come on live on the air. Let's see. Hello? Why can't I hear him? I'm alone. Busboy, join the chat. Mitch, who should trade for Gurley? I'm calling you. Did you not get it? Who should trade for Gurley? Tampa Bay, maybe? Come on. Why can't you get on here? Come on, Busboy. You're letting me down here. What's going on? Hello? There he is. What do you got to say?
Titans GMs are high. That's all I gotta say.
That's all you got to say?
Well,
Nothing about the Steelers?
oh. Actually, we have the worst cap space in the league, and we spent on Derek Watt.
That's a good signing. Now you're going to trade for J.J. Watt. What would you think about that?
I mean, we're not going to. I know the Steelers too well.
Yeah. What about Gurley? People are asking about Gurley in the chat.
Gurley?
Yeah, Todd Gurley.
Nope. You said we were going to get Melvin Gordon. We're not going to get Melvin Gordon or Gurley. The best we're going to get is some guy in the draft.
Busboy, I got a question for you.
Okay, yeah.
Who's better at Madden, me or Kevin Durant?
Oh, I don't care, Kevin. Okay. Let's see. Let's see here.
This shouldn't be a hard answer, Busboy.
Hold on, let me think here.
This is taking you far too long.
So, from the games that I played, Mitch is the better player, but it doesn't mean...
There we go. Mitch is the better player.
Yeah.
All right.
I bet Kevin takes it easy on me.
Thank you for the call.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. There was Busboy. Turtle's trying to call now. Turtle wants in on the action. I'm just taking live callers. You guys could hear that all right? Notorious says, Mitch, I work 9 hours a day, 7 days a week. Hard working man here. After work, I have 4 kids to take care of. I can't keep up with everything. Anything new on Emmanuel Sanders? Can't find anything. Did you already cover that? No, Emmanuel Sanders hasn't been signed. I haven't heard any rumors about him. So when I do, I will. I will talk about him. So I'll you will be covered on Emmanuel Sanders. Okay, let's join this call. Hello? Wow, you're quiet. Let me see. There we go.
Wait, what'd you say? You cut out.
Turtle, you're live.
Yes, sir. All right, I just want to say, bottom line viewers, please subscribe and Gronk spike the like button.
See how difficult that is to do without screwing up?
Yeah, bro. Your job's hard.
All right, what do you think the Saints should do? Give the people your thoughts.
Trade for Patrick Mahomes.
That's a good move. Pretty smart.
Yeah, I think so.
Anything else to say?
No, I'm nervous. I think I'm gonna leave now.
All right. Call again. Peace. That was Turtle. Turtle says that they should They should trade for Patrick Mahomes. Who's the best bottom line view fan? If anybody else wants to call, I'm on the Discord. But until that happens, we should get to another signing. I don't know if the Slay thing's been made official yet, but I'll eventually get to it. We'll leave that for the main event. There's so many things on here. I don't want to do all of them, to be honest. Okay, Casey is done. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 left to cover that I have listed. Okay. Let's do the A'Shawn Robinson one next. And I know that Lions fans know all about this guy. He is signing with the Rams. Okay. A'Shawn Robinson is signing with the LA Rams. A'Shawn Robinson would be the perfect young replacement on the defensive line for Michael Brockers. Brockers recently left the LA Rams to the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is the low-cost free agent that the Rams could definitely utilize on their defensive line. My hope is that they continue to add to this defensive line, but Robinson had one really good year in 2018. He's mostly a run stuffer. That's mostly what Michael Brockers was as well. Can contribute a little bit in the pass rushing department, but not a lot. He's pretty much a run stuffer. He's pretty much a rundown player. But considering that Michael Brockers was mostly that, one of the better ones in the league, by the way, Michael Brockers, you needed to replace that player on your defensive line beside Aaron Donald. And I do think that Robinson, his sack numbers, his pressures, they'll definitely go up because Robinson is playing next to Aaron Donald, and that's just what happens. So looking at him, he's only 24 going on 25. Talk about potential. He had 1.5 sacks last year and 2 fumble recoveries with 3 passes defense in 13 games. He also had 40 tackles. The season before, I would say, was his best, where PFF ranked him very highly, like within the top 12, I want to say. He had 49 tackles, a sack, 4 quarterback hits. Now, looking at advanced defense and fumbles, 1.5 sacks. He had 4 pressures, 10 pressures last year. He's not a pass rusher. Like, just don't expect him to come in here and play and have a big-time pass rushing role. Then again, though, his snaps went up this past season in terms of percentage. He played 46% of the snaps for the Lions. That uptick probably was a result of the injuries on the defensive line for the Lions, but I do think 46%, I could probably see him playing upwards towards 60% for the Rams. He played 68% in his second year as a 22-year-old in 2017 for the Lions when he played 16 games. I could see him playing nearly 65% of the snaps for the Rams. The Rams don't have a ton of depth on their D-line, so their starters are going to play more than a team with a really deep D-line. So the Rams are in a really sticky situation. They're kind of caught in a pickle. The Goff contract, they might trade Gurley, they might trade Cooks. They've put themselves in a bad financial situation. Robinson is basically one of those moves that I would like to see them do more of. I'd like to see them go with the younger, cheaper alternative to a lot of their players. And they've done this with Michael Brockers. Robinson may not be Michael Brockers right now, but he has potential. He's shown it before in the NFL, and he has a chance to fulfill a nice role within this defense. Robinson to the Rams. Big boy. What is there like a... Guys, we have 222 people in here and only 78 likes. I'm going to log off right now if I don't get 90 likes. Come on. Seriously? Also, by the way, guys, I know there's a lot of you that just joined, so make sure that you do check out the entire playlist of the free agency reactions. I made that playlist so that everybody could have all those videos in one place. I just released like 20 videos before I went live today, so make sure you go check out that playlist and get your fix. Whatever free agent signings you're intrigued by, whatever you want to hear more information on, make sure you go check that playlist out. And whether it's your team or other teams or players you're just intrigued by, go check it out. I made a video on basically every player that's important in the league. So go check it out. Yeah, they're lurking, bro. Big boy, I noticed you. Nicholas says, Mitch, do it for the real ones and finish the stream. I don't think you said it like that, but that's how I thought of it in my mind. So that's how I delivered it. Okay. We will finish the stream because Nicholas wants to. So what do we got? We finished the Robinson one. I Gotta get to Slay, too. Next, we have Rodney Gunter on a 3-year contract. I don't believe Gunter was graded very well by PFF last year, but let's actually double check that. That's one that I need to double check on. Kind of surprised by that contract, too. Let's see. Ooh, did they already move him? PFF. Gunter to the Jags. Jags do need that interior. I wonder if that means they're not bringing back Darius. Good question. Ranked 66th last year. 602 snaps, 65. Okay. Interesting. And let's pull him up on Pro Football Reference, and then we'll get going. Do you guys want me to save Slay for last, or what? Go out with a bang? Still waiting for the contract info anyways, and I don't think we're going to get it tonight. I think we're going to get it tomorrow. Okay. The Jacksonville Jags have added depth to their defensive line. Rodney Gunter of the Arizona Cardinals, interior defensive lineman, has signed a 3-year contract with the Jags. And this makes me kind of wonder, is Darius going to be back within this defense? How are they going to continue to add to this D-line? Of course, they're going to trade Ngakoue. That's all the reports. That's what they're saying. Calais Campbell is gone. They traded him already. Josh Allen is still there. Brian is still there in the interior. Avery Jones is still there. They still have some pieces on the D-line, but this is a move that I think a little bit cheaper than like Calais Campbell and kind of plays a similar type of role. He's a similar type of body, and he can play a little bit of defensive tackle for the Jags. 6'5", 305. He is 28 years old, and he ranked okay by PFF last year. Nothing spectacular. He ranked 66th. He was fairly even in terms of his both his pass rush and his run grade. He played 602 snaps, was a primary starter for Arizona. And the interesting thing with Arizona is he mostly has played as a 3-4 end as opposed to a 4-3 tackle, which is more what the Jags run. When you look at it, he played 13 games last year. Other than that, he's stayed healthy throughout the course of his career, playing 16 games in 2015 and through 2018, 16 games across the board. He played nose tackle early in his career for Arizona. The rest of it, basically defensive line, defensive tackle, defensive end in the 3-4. 4.5 sacks in 2018 is his career high, 3 sacks last season in 13 games. He had the most quarterback hits of his career last year and 9 tackles for loss, which is second. I think since the move more to that position, he has upped his sack total, upped his pressure total, and he's actually gotten a little bit better as a pass rusher as he's progressed in his career. He has now hit his prime, 27, 28 years old. 3 sacks, 13 pressures last year, had 16 last year, 13 this year. And overall, I would look at Gunter and not say he's strictly a run defender. He's not strictly a pass rush specialist. He's kind of somewhere caught in the middle. He can do a little bit of everything. In terms of his snap count, 53% last year, 58% the year before that. And then really you saw 28%, 23% in 2017, 2016. Played a little bit less when there was more depth and better players on the Arizona D-line. And 40% as a rookie. So I expect him to play somewhere around 40% in Jacksonville. They have a little bit more depth there on the D-line than in Arizona. I expect him to play a slightly different position in Jacksonville. But I do expect what him really is going to add is a player that's okay as a pass rusher, okay as a run defender, and probably the primary Darius replacement if they end up moving on from him, which it does seem like they are going to. So a lower cost guy, a lower cost alternative to Darius in the interior of the Jags defensive line. Gunter to Jacksonville. Here we go. Another one down. How are you, Daniel? AJ Goodson. Yeah, Jags traded Bouye. They're going to trade Ngakwe. They traded Campbell. They're trading their whole damn defense. If we get 90 likes right now, Mitch will do Slay. Yeah, let's do it. 90 likes, I'll do Slay right now. We're at 79 likes. And 5 dislikes, because people are asses. Thank you for the 5 dislikes. Daniel subbed. Thanks, Daniel. I guess we're not doing Slay. I don't know. Doesn't really seem like it. Any 2019 playoff teams not going to make it this year? Yeah, probably. There's probably going to be about 5 or 6. Do I know the ones yet? No, not yet. But I would definitely guess one of them is my Patriots, unfortunately. But we'll have to see. I'm not ruling it out. 90 likes. How do I feel about Chris Harris? I already talked about that, so unfortunately, you're going to have to wait till this goes off air or until that video comes out tomorrow, which will be out tomorrow for sure. But let's just say quickly, I like it. I don't love it, but I like it for sure. Okay, let's do another one before we get to Slay. So Gunter. Devon Kennard, how does that one sound? Ben. Why does it not let... Because I guess he's... The grind. I hope there's not like a ridiculous amount of signings tomorrow because I don't want to be like grinding the content. You know what I mean? But well, if it happens, it happens, and I'll have to do it. Okay. So Devon Kennard. He's been pretty productive for the Lions. Kind of surprised they released him, to be honest. They did sign Collins. But it's interesting, nonetheless. Okay, Arizona. Gunter is gone. Cassius Marsh sucks. Okay. Devon Kennard has fulfilled the Arizona Cardinals' need on the opposite side of Chandler Jones on the edge to get after the quarterback. Kennard is the type of player that is a hybrid linebacker, edge player, and I think is actually a pretty interesting fit and a different kind of player that I really didn't expect the Cardinals to go after for this defensive scheme of Vance Joseph. Vance Joseph has had a little experience doing a bunch of different things defensively, and I'm really intrigued to see how this player fits within his defense. They did release Reddick, a former high draft pick in the draft a couple of seasons ago. He hasn't really worked out at edge. He hasn't worked out at linebacker, so they've moved on. It's interesting to see how Kennard's going to replace rather him or add to that edge position. In Detroit, he's mostly been an edge player. He had 7 sacks the last 2 seasons. He's been productive. 14 quarterback hits in 2018, 15 quarterback hits this past season. He had 58 tackles, he had 2 fumble recoveries, and played all 16 games. Since coming to Detroit, he's really been a more productive player than when he was in New York, although I did like him in New York as well as the same type of edge / linebacker hybrid type of guy. He has put up pressures over the last 2 seasons. 30 in 2019, 25 in 2018, 13 hurries in both seasons, according to Pro Football Reference. And in terms of his snap count, he has played a lot. Last year, he played 88% of snaps for Detroit, which is too much. 82 last year. So that's part of the reason his sack numbers are up in Detroit. I mean, before 49%, 48%, 42%. Detroit released a guy that was playing 88% of the snaps for them, 82% of the snaps. That's pretty wild. That doesn't usually happen. That obviously means they weren't seeing enough production from him given the amount of snaps. And pressure-wise, I mean, it's there. It's just converting that into big plays that might have been the problem for the Lions. And the consistency with the pressure has been an issue for the Lions. Kennard isn't going to be a number 1 pass rusher for any team he plays on. For the Cardinals, he can be a number 2 or a number 3, and that's good. He can also play a little linebacker, which is great. But I think the main role he's going to play is play on that opposite side of Chandler Jones and just another guy that can get off the edge. He has speed. He's more of a smaller type of edge guy. He's 6'3", 256, more of the traditional outside linebacker edge. Kind of in a similar vein to Jones, but Jones is like long and big. Jones is like 6'5", like 260, but Jones is also like super athletic, which makes him special, right? Kennard's not that type of guy, but he adds a little bit of speed to the position, and I think the Cardinals ultimately want to build their defense on the speed and athleticism. So it's interesting. If Kennard's snaps go down, I think his production actually will rise. So I think that's what's going to happen in Arizona, and I'm intrigued to see what Detroit will actually end up doing to replace him. They brought in Jamie Collins, but I'm not exactly sure that that's a 1-for-1 switch. Collins can play inside or outside, but you would prefer for Detroit that he would play inside more often than not. So it's going to be interesting to see how Detroit replaces him. But for Arizona, they get a good, versatile edge defender that's been productive over the past couple of seasons and played a ton for the Detroit Lions. So Kennard to Arizona. He's going back home, and he took a pay cut to do so. Thanks, guys, for watching. All right. There we go. Oh, Daniel's leaving. Bye, Daniel. Big boy's leaving. Bye. Ben says Lions should have not let Kennard go, in my opinion. Okay, we still have over 200 people watching this, and we still haven't hit 90 likes. Dude, 122 people are sitting watching this chat and have not Gronk spiked the like button. I'm upset. The grind is real, though. Next. We have Sean Davis, Eli Apple, Leonard Floyd, Xavier Su'a-Filo. Su'a-Filo. I get his name wrong all the time. I don't even know how to say his name. Bengals with their offensive linemen. They really need them. Their offensive line was pretty bad last year. I'm just wondering if it was like the worst. Them, Miami, pretty bad. Cincinnati. Interesting. It's interesting because Cincinnati has Billy Price, who they just drafted in the first round. They have the Michael Jordan. I think Alex Redmond. Yeah. He'll probably start for them. I think that's what they want him for. So let's do that real quick. Whoa, internet. Okay. Oh, you want Sean Davis. Too bad, we're doing Su'a-Filo first. So let's do that. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. Okay. The Cincinnati Bengals have upgraded their guard position with Xavier Su'a-Filo from... What team did he play for last year? Did he play for the San Francisco? No. He played for... Damn, why do I forget? The Cowboys. Did he play for the Cowboys last year? No. Let me check that. Yeah, he did play for the Cowboys. Damn. All right. Redo that. Okay. Xavier Su'a-Filo from the Dallas Cowboys has signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals have upgraded their offensive line at the guard position. Guard position has been a position of, a little worry over the past couple of years for Cincinnati. Their offensive line in general has been pretty weak. Tackle, guard, center, whatever it may be. They have tried really hard to draft players at all of those positions, upgrade all of those positions, and I think what they have here is not necessarily a starter, but a depth guard. I don't want to say that he will actually end up being the starter because when you look at their line, they have a lot of young players that they want to let come in and play a lot of their snaps. First-round picks. Jonah Williams is expected to be back into the fold. Billy Price is still a first-round pick for them, and those are their two starting guards. They also have Michael Jordan, who played a lot of snaps for them last year, a fourth-round pick in 2019. Played a lot of snaps in place for Jonah Williams. So the question remains, is this just a depth signing, or will he actually compete for the starting position? Because when you look at it, Billy Price did not play well last year. When you look at the PFF grades, Billy Price ranked 79th, only had a 41 grade. And Su'a-Filo ranked a lot higher than that with a 60 grade. And actually, as a pass protector, was pretty good. He was actually amongst the top 20 in the league at the guard position, playing 307 snaps for the Cowboys last year as a replacement guard for those who were injured. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do here, but I wouldn't be surprised with the contract given to him if he was able to compete for that starting job. If he does outplay Billy Price, he might actually get that job at left guard. Crazier things have happened. I'm just pointing it out there. We'll have to see what happens. But this is just a depth signing to shore up the offensive line and give a little bit of extra experience to the offensive line, and an offensive line that really needs the depth. So Su'a-Filo to the Cincinnati Bengals. Nothing too sexy here, nothing too special here, but a player that could potentially, under the radar, have an impact on this team. All right, who's next? Sean Davis next. $87 likes. We're still on at 90. Anyone have an Anthony Harris upgrade or update? Oh, not upgrade. No, I haven't heard anything. I did hear that Cleveland might trade for him, but that's all I've heard. Peter said, are you really talking about this and not Slay? Slay hasn't officially happened yet, so I don't really want to put it out there. If anyone can clarify that it's officially happened, I will officially talk about it. But let me see. It's pretty much officially happened, and I'm basically saving it for last. But, I don't see any contract details, anything like that. But it seems like it's happening. Okay. I just have a couple more to go anyways, and then we'll talk about Slay for as long as you want, and then I'm going to go to bed. I did talk about Carl Joseph already, though. Three more, and then we have Slay. So Sean Davis. These ones will be quick, too. They're just small. All right. He only played one game last year. There. Okay. Where did he sign? Redskins. Okay. Sean Davis has officially signed with the Washington Redskins. The Redskins have added a safety to their secondary after adding Kendall Fuller to their secondary. So Ron Rivera's secondary is shaping up, and this signing kind of makes a lot of sense. It's a low-risk, high-reward signing. Sean Davis is a player that a lot of athletic ability, has started for the Steelers for a couple of seasons, and has played a pretty large role for the Steelers for a couple of seasons. Didn't play a large one last year. He was hurt. He only played one game, and in that game he had 5 tackles. 2018, 2017, 2016, he started a minimum of 9 games. 9 games in 2016, 16 out of 16 in 2017, and 15 out of 15 in 2018. He was their starting safety for at least 2 out of the 3 seasons in Pittsburgh. So you're getting a starting caliber safety. He's not always lived up to that billing. He has his pros and his cons. I will say that he is, in his pros, very athletic, fast, can run, can hit, can tackle. His cons, not great in coverage, not the smartest safety in the world, but makes up for it sometimes with his ability in the open field to tackle, and just his athletic ability makes up for, being in the wrong position sometimes, because he can just make up for it physically. He had 92 tackles, which is a career high in 2017, 1.5 sacks in 2016, career high. And the last season he started was 2018, 7 passes defensed. He had 1 interception, 80 tackles. He had 3 interceptions in 2017. His snap counts. He played 97% of snaps in 2017, 94% in 2018, and 71 in his rookie season. Again, he's been a super important player for Pittsburgh, and I would say he's had his ups and his downs. If Ron Rivera can somehow coach him up and get his potential out of him, this is a really good, low-cost, low-term signing, and he'll just add to the depth, add to the rotation at safety. He could even be their starter at one of their safety spots. I would not be shocked if he ended up being their free safety, because he certainly, of course, has the experience. And if somehow he can show that he still has that ability, athletic ability specifically, in training camp, then we could see him get those snaps. At free safety right now, they have Apke, they have Everett, but nothing really set in stone for Washington, in my opinion. Landon Collins at strong safety is set in stone. At the very least, Davis will be a rotation guy who works into the secondary a little bit. But I do think this is worth the risk. And considering a guy that played over 94% of snaps for a defense, for any defense, is worth having on an NFL defense today. So, Sean Davis, for his ups and his downs, he still has potential, and I think he can make it work in Washington if Ron Rivera can coach the potential out of him. Okay. Next, Eli Apple. Who's excited for Eli Apple? Still the one that I predicted, which I can't believe I predicted that. Leonard Floyd is after that, and then we have Darius Slay. So let's do these quick. Okay. Eli Apple. My boy. He was bad last year. Okay. Mike Mayock is taking a chance on a former high draft pick. Eli Apple is coming into Las Vegas and their secondary with an opportunity to start straight up. The Raiders don't have much at the corner position, and they're taking a risk on a former first-round pick. Eli Apple started a lot of games for the Saints last year. PFF ranked him as the 61st best corner in football last year, gave him a middling grade. In my opinion, when I saw him play, he wasn't great. He definitely was not a starting caliber corner, in my opinion. Not a number one, not a number two. He might still be a pretty good depth guy, and really in a different scheme, he might be able to play better. But I don't know. This is an interesting signing. I think it's interesting because I actually predicted this to happen, and I don't understand how I predicted it to happen because it's so random. But really what I felt going back to it is I felt like this scheme in Oakland, or I should say Vegas, might be a little bit better for him. And it's a similar system to New Orleans, but it's not too similar to the point where like it's the same, but it's similar. It has the same basics to it. And I think when you look at it, Vegas is looking at Dallas, they're looking at the Saints, they're looking at those type of teams that run similar defenses to try and pick players off of them because they know their scheme fits and they can see what the strengths and the weaknesses are. And they're looking at, okay, you know, we saw that he could do these things inside the system. Maybe we can utilize him in that way. And when you really look at the Raiders, they've been sorely lacking corner play. Looking at their depth chart in the secondary, it's interesting because they haven't really made that move for a number one corner, which I hope they would. Trayvon Mullen, they drafted in the second round. Darryl Worley is a free agent. Nixon, they don't really have anything. Nevin Lawson, I mean, these guys are borderline NFLers or borderline rookie second-year players. Carl Joseph is gone. They brought in Jeff Heath. Jonathan Abram and LaMarcus Joyner is a very good safety duo, in my opinion. So Eli Apple right there, like on name recognition and playing time alone, considering he played the number 2 corner spot for the Saints for a large majority of last season, you would have to slot him in right now at this current moment as the Raiders' number 2 corner. And honestly, I don't think that's good enough. I just don't know if Eli Apple's made out to be a number 2 corner. Maybe they move him to the slot. Maybe it works in Vegas. I don't know. Again, PFF didn't rank him horribly. 61st. You know, that's technically a number 2 corner in the league. But when I watched him play, he is a far too risky corner. Like, sometimes he'll get beat badly. Possibly in more of a zone scheme, he would be better. because he played a lot of man in New Orleans and he played a lot of man with the Giants as well. He played a lot of snaps. He played 933 snaps last season, which was the second most for New Orleans. So, yeah, I don't really know how to fully feel about this because, yeah, it's a low risk, high reward scenario, but is the reward really high? Like, have we at this point seen enough from Eli Apple? Maybe I'm underrating him a little bit, but I'll give Mike Mayock the benefit of the doubt because he's done a good job, and he scouted this guy coming out of college. He obviously liked him. So I think really it's Mike Mayock's move. I think he's saying, I like this guy coming out of college. I think Gruden, you could utilize him well, and I think, he's better than what we have on the roster now. It's only 1 year, at least he signed to, and it's low risk, potentially high reward. Why not? Take an opportunity, take a chance. And I shouldn't blame them because I predicted the move to happen, and I thought they would take a chance on a guy just like Eli Apple, if not Eli Apple, in a similar mold, a former high draft pick or a guy that Mike Mayock liked coming out of the draft and could potentially play as a starter for them. And that's exactly what they got. But I just don't know if Eli Apple is a legitimate actual number 2 corner. I just don't know. But that's really where I stand on this move. So let me know what you think of the move. Eli Apple to the Las Vegas Raiders. Back streets back. All right. Peter, see you, man. Limitless potential. See ya. He's got school. See ya. Schoolwork, I should say. I wonder what the Pats are going to do at quarterback. I can honestly see Jameis going there. I hope it's Jameis. If it's not Cam, I hope it's Jameis. Because I love Jameis because he's exciting. At the very least, if we're going to go 7-9, if we're going to go 6-10, if we're going to go 8-8, if we're going to go 4-12, I want to have exciting games. And who is more exciting than Jameis Winston? The answer is nobody. Nobody. There's not a player in the NFL that is more exciting than Jameis Winston. Good or bad? Okay. I just have a couple more. I have one more, and then we'll get to Slay, and then we're out. The last one before Slay is pass rusher Leonard Floyd. AC did say he was going to come on tomorrow to talk Slay, so maybe I should wait, but I'll give you my first thoughts. Okay, let's go with Leonard Floyd first. That was a shocking move when they released Floyd. I'm not shocked by the release of Floyd, but immediately signing Robert Quinn. I thought that was interesting. I just didn't think they would spend that type of money on another pass rusher, but not saying it's a bad move. I like the Quinn move. I just was surprised by it, taken off guard. Floyd. Ranked 41st. Bears fans don't like him, though. For whatever reason. He hasn't really lived up to his potential, I will say that. Okay. Linebacker Leonard Floyd has found a new home with the LA Rams. And to me, this move was a replacement for Dante Fowler. And while I do like that Chicago moved on from Floyd because it just didn't really seem to be working the way it should have. He was a former high draft pick, coming out of college, athletic freak, and really seemed to be a perfect scheme fit for what they were trying to do. 6'5", 240, off the edge, athleticism, him and Khalil Mack. It's going to be dangerous. But ever since his rookie season, it just really hasn't worked out. the way that the Bears and Bears fans have wanted. I mean, last year he only had 3 sacks in 16 games. That's just not good enough for the guy playing opposite of Khalil Mack, who's getting the one-on-ones, who's getting the opportunities off the edge. But to me, this reminds me a little bit of Dante Fowler. If you're a Rams fan, you're taking a player that's a former first-round pick, high pick, maybe didn't work out the way that the Jags or the Bears wanted, but you can put them in your system, and they're similar athletes. They were athletically, they are almost replicas of each other. It's kind of weird, but I think Fowler's a little bit bigger. I would say Floyd and Fowler both have 2 things in common, though. Their length is very good for their position. Like, they have long arms, they have the ability to dip around the corner, and they're both very athletic and drop into coverage a little bit, do those sorts of things. So I understand the fit, and I understand why the Rams went after him. And also, you look at it, it's 1 year, $10 million, up to $13 million. So it's a good contract for Floyd. It's a prove-it deal for Floyd. And it's a good contract for the Rams because, 1 year, it doesn't work out, move on. But 1 year, it works out. You get a good player who replaces Fowler. You don't have to pay him as much money as you could have Fowler. And maybe you re-sign him the year after. So, and the Rams are in a situation where they need to re-sign and revamp and retool their entire team because of all the bad decisions they've made with Jared Goff and Todd Gurley and Brandon Cooks and these contracts, and they have to pay Jalen Ramsey. They're just in a tough spot with that. So by moving on from Fowler and signing a cheaper option who's similar in the same mold as Fowler, not as good, but in the same mold as Fowler, Floyd makes sense. He's probably the closest on the market you could have found to him. Still young, too. He's going to be 28 next year. 12 quarterback hits last year, which is his career high. 7 sacks is his career high in his rookie season, 2016. Advanced stats, he had 26 pressures last year. Not quite putting up the sack numbers. 15 hurries. And snap counts, he played 84% of snaps last year, 75% in 2018. And he's just a guy that's not really quite putting up the sack numbers that you would like. PFF did rank him fairly well, 41st. 61 in pass rush grade, though. 73 in run grade, which is good. So he's really, PFF says he's more of the run stuffer type. He's more of the contain type in the run game. And I can see that. I think just what the Rams want is they want him to be able to fulfill his potential as a pass rusher. And if that can happen, and he can add that to his ability to stop the run, then you do have a potential really good signing on your hands. But if not, you're taking up $10 million this year for a player that might disappoint you. But it's only 1 year, again. So I don't see how you can really hate this signing. You might have liked to have it for a little bit less than $10 million. Maybe like $7 million would have been better, but I get it. I understand it. And they were a little desperate because Fowler left them and they were trying to sign him and they were left out to dry. So Leonard Floyd to the LA Rams, a very near replica of Fowler and a player that they could potentially turn into what they turned Dante Fowler into. We'll have to see how he fits in this defense, but a versatile linebacker edge player for the LA Rams defense. All right, it's Darius Slay time, guys. It's that time. Sonny says, hello from Alaska. Love your show. Thank you, Sonny. Appreciate it. Hazelnut says, late night here on the East Coast, almost 2 a.m. If you are hearing this, reading this, you are the resistance. Loving the interaction between the comments and the show. Subscribed without question. Hope to see another stream tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Nicholas says, I liked Floyd. I think that's a great signing for the Rams. There you go. There's a Bears fan that liked Floyd. That's interesting. Team Insomnia. That's us right there. Ben says, I have to go to bed tonight without knowing what we got for Slay. Yep. Okay. Is it Slay time? Is it Slay time? Is it Slay time? It's Darius Slay time. Okay. Philadelphia Eagles. I think Slay leads the league in passes defense since 2013. Something crazy. He had 26 passes defense in 20. That's freaking absurd. That's crazy. 26? Were teams just continuously passing at him? What? Okay. All right. Does he have his... Yeah. They have his advanced stats here. Good. Okay. It has been reported that Darius Slay is going to be traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. I've been preaching that the Philadelphia Eagles go out and sign, trade, do whatever they can to get a number one corner in the building. And Darius Slay is a number one corner and has been for some time. And not only is he a number one corner, but he is a playmaking corner. This guy gets interceptions. He tips down passes. He makes it in the big moment, and he has great ball skills. I mean, if Darius Slay enters the building for Philadelphia, enters the locker room, whatever it may be, he will be the best corner the Eagles have had, in my opinion, since, I don't know, Asante Samuel. It's been a long time since the Eagles have had a good corner on their team. And one might be slipping my mind right now, but that's seriously what I go back to, is Asante Samuel. And he's kind of similar to Asante Samuel in terms of the playmaking ability, the ball skills, all of that. But Slay, I mean, he's been a stud over the course of his career. And he's dealt with a little bit more injuries, being banged up as of late, than in his prime, I would say. He's still kind of in his prime. I mean, he didn't have as great of a year this year as he did last year or the year before that, but he's still a number one corner. I would put him in the conversation for one of the 10 to 15 best corners in the game. He's probably a top 10 guy, probably back end top 10, but he didn't have his greatest year last year. I do want to see how him shifting from Patricia's defense into a Eagles defense will change him, or if they're going to play more man coverage with Slay there, if they're going to mix it up a little bit. I know that Schwartz is a guy that is always about, keeping quarterbacks off balance. He loves blitzing. So if you can play man in the secondary, I feel like Schwartz would prefer to play man. It's just the case has been that the Eagles have always been built with Schwartz as their defensive coordinator with great pass rushers and not great corners. So you almost have to wonder if a guy like Slay allows them to be a little bit more aggressive in the pass rush with blitzes. And it allows them to actually lock up number one receivers at times, which has been their biggest difficulty. Locking up Amari Cooper or whoever the number one receiver is, Julio Jones, whoever it is. I mean, they've been torched by number one receivers with consistency, and they've been torched by less than number one receivers with consistency. I mean, at a certain point, you just got to admit that this position is not good enough. Avonte Maddox, Ronald Darby, Jalen Mills, Rasul Douglas, Crevon LeBlanc. These guys have not been getting it done well enough for the Eagles as number one corners or even number twos. Now, I think what this move would impact the most is once you get that number one corner, it changes your defense. I say this consistently, but I think a number one shutdown corner, which I don't know if Slay's a shutdown guy. He can be in certain matchups depending on the receiver he's playing. But as a number one corner, adding that number one legitimate number one, which the Eagles legitimately don't have a number one, and they haven't for the past 3, 4, 5 seasons. So by adding the legitimate number one, it moves your number one to your number two. It moves your number two to your number three. It puts a guy that maybe was on the outside in the slot at the nickel. It allows matchups better, whether that's man, zone, whatever, just pure physical matchups, you can do more by adding that number one corner. You can take away a number one receiver with just Slay, or you could put Slay on the number two and double the number one. You can do a lot of different things. You have that flexibility with Slay now in your secondary that the Eagles just haven't had. And I think that's going to be a huge difference maker for the Eagles. And it would be nice to see if they added a linebacker or two. They might do that in the draft. They still have the front seven to get after the quarterback. And even more so now. I mean, adding Hargrave is going to be awesome for their front. But they have the pass rush. They now have the number one corner. This defense is going to get a lot better overnight when Darius Slay enters the building. Because, like I said, that number one corner affords you to do so much on defense, even in the run game, right? If you could play just a little bit more man and are not worried about getting beat over the top as much, you can stack the box and get after the run if you really need to, which the Eagles are in a situation where they have Fletcher Cox and Hargrave in the middle, so teams aren't running up the middle. So, the Eagles defense is built for a top 10 unit at the very least. They have potential. If they can add linebackers, I think they're really looking good on defense. And we'll see what they do offensively, receiver-wise, all of that. But I love this move. Going to Darius Slay as a player. Now, I said he had a down year last year. PFF would agree. He did not grade well from PFF. He only ranked 83rd from PFF. He did deal with some injuries, played 858 snaps, which is less than typical for him. He played 14 games. Had 2 interceptions. He did have 13 passes defense and a fumble recovery. He had 46 tackles on the season. Looking at his advanced stats, he allowed 52 completions on 93 targets, which is 55.6 completion. He allowed 694 yards to his coverage, only 3 touchdowns. And like I said, he had 2 interceptions. So he had 2 interceptions and only 3 touchdowns allowed. He had an 81.6 passer rating, which not great in the NFL today. So when looking at his advanced stats, it looks a lot better than what PFF graded him at and looks still like an elite corner. In 2018, he was a Pro Bowler again. He was Pro Bowler in 2019 as well. 2018, 15 games, 3 interceptions. He allowed 6 touchdowns, but he only allowed 520 yards on 46.8 completion, which is really good. He allowed 403 air yards, which is even more impressive, and a 72.1 passer rating. So 72.1 passer rating. 2018 was a great season for Darius Slay. 2017, he led the NFL in interceptions with 8. He had 26 passes defense, which led the league. And 26 is absurd. Anything over 20 is really, really, really good. 26, like deflections, bat downs, breakups, that's insane. Like 26, 60 tackles. I don't know if that's just because teams are targeting him a lot. Like, that's weird. Like 26. He has an incredible ability to make quarterbacks, like bait quarterbacks into throws. It's the same thing that Stephon Gilmore does. Like give up a little bit of space so that you can bait them into the throw, and that's exactly why he had 8 interceptions. Like this is a guy that not only is a man-to-man corner and an island corner, but he can also be a guy to take the ball away. And that's exactly what he showed in that 2017 All-Pro season. 2016, 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 44 tackles. He was a Pro Bowler in 2017, 18, and 19. I think he really came on the scene in 2016, but even before that, he was showing some promise. Starting all 16 games for the team from 2014 on. So Slay, he's been one of the best corners in the league for a while. He's going to continue to be that. And like I said, he's going to give this defense such flexibility, scheme versatility, and just, I can't even explain it, like what a number one corner will do for this defense, because we haven't seen it with the Eagles. And you Eagles fans are going to finally understand the value of a corner on your friggin' team, because no longer are you going to see your number one guy get burnt like toast for 60 yards by Amari Cooper. By the way, he's played very well versus Amari Cooper in his career, which is huge because that's a division rivalry. That's my opinion on Darius Slay. I love the move if it ends up actually going through. I'm not sure the compensation, but as long as it's not like a first-round pick, I think this is a good trade for the Eagles, who are a team that are looking to win right now. So I like it. Can you explain to me what the Panthers are doing? Bro, if I knew, I'd be a millionaire. But I think they're trying to rebuild somewhat, but they're also, I think the number one way I can put this, Hugo, is I think they're trying to build their culture. And I think that's part of the reason they're moving on from Cam, is I think Matt Rule and Teddy Bridgewater are going to be part of that building of the culture that the Panthers want. I don't think they're going to be in contention this year. Probably not a playoff team, especially with Brady going to that division now. But they're going to build something there in terms of the inner building workings of that culture. It all starts with the culture for a winning team. Whether it's the Patriots, the Seahawks, the Eagles, it's these teams that have been successful. The Ravens, the Chiefs even now. I mean, it's all about the culture. It starts from the head coach, the GM, the owner, and it goes on down. And I think that's what the Panthers, with the new owner just a couple seasons ago, new coach, new coordinators, they're trying to build something from the grassroots. And that kind of takes a retooling, a rebuilding. And the culture is about the people. It's not necessarily about what you say, what you do, but it's about the people you have there. And I think that's exactly what they're trying to do, is go after the culture more so than the players. All right. I think I'm done for the night. Yes, there is a Robert Quinn signing. All right. Yeah, I'm definitely done. All right, guys, I'm just too tired right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. If you did, Gronk spike the like button and, of course, subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos. These will all be released tomorrow. I released 20 videos today, so go check those out in the free agency reactions playlist. If you haven't already, go check them out. Go Gronk spike the like button. Leave your comments on those videos. Let me know what you think on those signings. So if you haven't already, check those out. They're all there. Any important move that's happened, I've covered it, I've broken it down, and I've let you know how I feel. So thanks, guys, for joining me tonight. It's been fun. Peace.